subscribe, like the video, and, if possible, join Patreon. But if you don't have much money, you can support the channel by watching the novels on euroaudiobooks.com. Remember that you can participate in the polls so that your favorite novel gets published for free.
There was an accident in the middle of the mission. When I come back this time, I must report the situation to Sarutobi Hiruzen, who is Hokage, as soon as possible. By the way, can I ask if the others are back? And the Black Fangs? I don't know if they were killed by those guys at the root. In Hokage's office, Yagami Ryosuke and Yuzuki Yugao knocked on the door and walked in. In the office, Sarutobi Hiruzen raised his head and glanced at the two people who came in, not seeming surprised at all. In fact, as soon as Yagami Ryosuke and Yuzuki Shien returned to the village, Sarutobi Hiruzen had already received the news. So he was naturally not surprised that the two would return to the village at this time. I heard that you were ambushed by Cloud Shinobi ninjas during the mission. What is the specific situation? Sarutobi Hiruzen also had an unprecedentedly serious expression on his face. After all, this incident involved the entire Umbu team, and it was also related to Cloud Shinobi Village. If one is not handled well, it will be another diplomatic conflict. Can't do it. It may even cause a series of chain reactions, caused heavy damage to the village. Therefore, Sarutobi Hiruzen, who had already heard the news before the return of Yagami Ryosuke and Yuzuki Yugao, has been worrying about this problem. Although the Third Ninja War has passed for some years, but the village has not recovered from the last war. After all, in the middle, Konoha also experienced a Nine-Tails attack on the village and the Uchiha genocide incident. A serious blow was dealt to the power of the village. If a conflict with Cloud Shinobi Village really breaks out, then Sarutobi Hiruzen will have to perform another wave of strong men's wrist-cutting skills and hand over the personnel related to this matter to Cloud Shinobi Village. I hope Cloud Shinobi Village will not pursue this matter. As for the matter, is it caused by Cloud Shinobi Village? Is this important? In Sarutobi Hiruzen's view, it doesn't matter who started it. Importantly, he doesn't want to start a war with Cloud Shinobi Village. That's the point. We've been ambushed. As the acting captain of Umbu's 7th Squad, Yuzuki Shien said before Ryosuke, we were tracking the target under the leadership of the sub-captain, but suddenly a group of ninjas wearing Cloud Shinobi forehead protectors popped out halfway. We are not sure if the opponent is the real Cloud Shinobi, but they are very strong. The team leader held back the 3 ninjas on the opposite side. Yue and I dealt with the other 2 ninjas together, while Heifeng went to seek support under my order. Sarutobi Hiruzen nodded, took a puff of cigarette, and said, the 3 of Black Fang from your team have returned to the village in the morning, and the information they brought back is not different from what you said. However, after that, how did you escape afterwards? Also, your squad leader has never returned to the village. What about the others? Sarutobi Hiruzen stared at the 2 people in front of him with a majestic expression on his aged face. Master 3rd Generation, Night God Ryosuke, answered immediately. The sub-captain bought precious time for me and the captain. We retreated according to the order, but we were chased by the ninjas on the opposite side. The captain and I fled all the way to the north, and we ran a long way before we got rid of the pursuers behind us. Afterwards, we wanted to take a rest for a while and go to join the big troops. However, there was a terrible explosion in that forest. At that time, I discussed it with the team leader. I felt that if we went there, we might be in danger. In the case of survival, we think we should send this information back to the village alive first. Therefore, we finally decided to take a detour from the other side and return to the village to send back this information. Yagami Ryosuke's tone was calm, and he couldn't tell that he was lying. After speaking, he also handed over a scroll. The above is the specific process of the task, which is actually what he just said. Sarutobi Hiruzen tapped on the stem of the cigarette, looking lost in thought. After a while, only then did he say to the 2 people in front of him, you have done a good job. It is indeed the most important thing to bring the information back to the village. I think you must be tired all the way. Go back and rest. If anything happens, the old man will order someone to summon you again. Master Hokage, we will take our leave first. Yuzuki Shien secretly breathed a sigh of relief. She was really nervous just now, for fear that the lie she conspired with Yagami Ryosuke would be exposed. Fortunately, now it seems that Master Hokage doesn't seem to suspect them. www. In Hokage's office. After Yagami Ryosuke and Yuzuki Shien 4.1 left, another figure appeared in the office. Hi, how are you doing? Sarutobi Hiruzen looked at Yamanaka in front of him. They didn't lie. Yamanaka shook his head. It seems that they really don't know anything. Sarutobi Hiruzen sighed and then said, Okay, it's getting late. Please, you have to make a trip yourself. Go back and rest. 11 Yamanaka nodded, said his goodbyes, and left Hokage's office with body flicker technique. After a while, Sarutobi Hiruzen sighed faintly, looking at the moon in the sky outside the window, holding a piece of information that was sent just today in his hand. What is recorded in this information is, remarkably, it is the news that Xiang Zhongji, the captain of the Umbu unit, has defected to Danzo, just as Danzo installed his own people in Umbu. Sarutobi Hiruzen planted his own people at the route too. The information in his hand was sent by his undercover agent in Umbu. Danzo, did you do what happened this time? Sarutobi Hiruzen frowned, lost in thought. Can't be sure for a while. Mainly the dead people seem to belong to Danzo. Instead, Night God Ryosuke and the others are fine. If only Danzo had done it. Sarutobi Hiruzen wanted to ask him, did he have any brains? Chapter 77. Pain. Night God Ryosuke can be used by me. Obito. Night God Ryosuke is nothing to worry about. Second update didn't kill anyone, but also took a secret person buried in Umbu into it. Moreover, if all this is really Danzo's doing, then those so-called cloud shinobi ninjas can basically be sure to be root ninjas. That is to say, he also took in several elite ninjas with roots? What are you drawing? But what exactly caused the explosion? Ninjutsu. But what kind of ninjutsu can cause that kind of damage? The more Sarutobi Hiruzen thought about it, the more he couldn't figure it out. But one thing is certain, that is, Yagami Ryosuke and Yuzuki Yugao really don't know anything. After all, it has just been confirmed by Yamanaka himself using spiritual magic. Neither of them lied. It's troublesome. The mysterious ninja outside the village has not been found some time ago. And now, this incident happened again. Hey, Sarutobi Hiruzen let out a long sigh. It feels like if he continues to toss like this, his old bones may not be able to last 10 years. Rain Country, Rain Shinobi Village. It rains here all the year round, and every household must bring an umbrella when going out. At this time, in the deepest part of Rain Shinobi Village, inside the headquarters base of the Akatsuki organization, Pain, the leader of Juejing and Akatsuki who just came back, reported the situation of the undead duo. Night God Ryosuke, Konoha Jinin. When Pain heard that Kakuzu and Haiden almost died in the hands of Konoha Jinin, even though his body was just one of Six Paths' puppets, he couldn't help showing a look of surprise. This kid is not simple. He is very strong in taijutsu and ninjutsu, but he doesn't seem to have much combat experience. He just uses force to overwhelm people. Never spoke. With little combat experience and almost killing Kakuzu and Haiden, that's even more incredible, isn't it? Pain frowned. A pair of purple round eyes flashed with thought. After a while, why did the other party conflict with Kakuzu and the others? Pain asked. This is very important. If it is deliberately targeting their Shao organization, then Pain feels that they need to solve this problem as soon as possible. After all, just like Ju said, the other party is just a 12-year-old kid. But now that he already possesses such terrifying strength, God knows how strong he will be after a few more years when he becomes an adult. Although Pain has always claimed to be a god, he is quite confident in his own strength. But he is confident, not conceited. Enemies like this are better nipped in the bud. A fool would wait for the opponent to grow to the peak before making a move. So why would he make himself feel uncomfortable? Stupid or not. The cause of the incident seems to be that Kakuzu wanted to take one of his companions to the underground gold exchange in exchange for bounties, so the two sides clashed. Never said, Kakuzu is good at everything. The ability to make money is also very strong, and they have made a lot of money for Shao organization. But there is one thing that is not so good. Too much for money. Sometimes Pain even doubted that if someone offered 2 billion for his head, would Kakuzu fight even when he knew he couldn't win? That's not to say Kakuzu is an idiot. It's the needle yuan ear, which has already become an obsession in his heart. It's as if Pain wants to make the 5 powers feel the pain so that peace can be achieved. This is their obsession. Doesn't Pain know the risks of doing this? He knows, but he doesn't care. Even if you have to sacrifice your own life, as long as you can get the result you want. He is also very willing. So, Pain could understand Kakuzu's obsession with money before. Available now. I heard that Kakuzu provoked such a powerful enemy for Akatsuki just for a bounty. Pain was a little depressed from the bottom of his heart. Pin, what are you going to do? Ju looked at Pain in front of him and asked him. Pain thought for a moment. Leave him alone for the time being. Kakuzu and Haiden told them to pay attention in the future. Don't invite such unnecessary enemies to the organization. We are mainly in the latent stage now, and it is not appropriate to confront each other. Is that what you think? Ju nodded and understood. That's fine. I'll go down first. Pain didn't speak, watching Ju's figure disappear before his eyes. Pain, do we really ignore this night, God Ryosuke? Conan on the side couldn't help asking. Just now, she had been listening by the side, and even she thought that this night, God Ryosuke might become a hindrance to their organization plan in the future. She didn't believe Pin would miss that. No, this night, God Ryosuke will not be our enemy. Unexpectedly, Pain shook his head, saying that the night God Ryosuke would not be the enemy of their Akatsuki organization. This made Conan a little confused. Why do you think a ninja who can easily defeat Kakuzu and Haiden deliberately hides his strength and acts as a genin? Pain asked Conan back. Is it because of some scruples? Conan thought for a while and guessed. That's right. The village of Konoha is even darker than we imagined. Their high-level officials can't even trust the ninjas in their own village. You have also read the information about Konoha. You should know that you were born in Konoha. If your talent, what will happen if it is too strong? Hearing this, Conan recalled the information about Konoha that he had seen before. Going forward, the Uchiha clan was exterminated. The genius ninja Uchiha Shursui died accidentally, and Uchiha Itachi killed the whole clan and became a rebel. Going forward, the Nine Tails attacked the village. The 4th generation couple died, and the 3rd generation came back to preside over the overall situation. Going forward, Hatake Tsukumo, suicide case. Sanin runs away. One after another, it seems that everything shows that being born in Konoha, being too talented is not only not a good thing, but a bad thing. If one is not good, it will bring about a disaster of death for yourself. You said, we can win over this night, God Ryosuke. Conan seemed to understand what Pain had just said. It's hard to say for the time being, but since he clearly has the top strength even in Kaga level, but he is still willing to be a genin in Konoha, then there must be some conspiracy. And his plot must run counter to Konoha's top management. Look, sooner or later, he will turn against Konoha's high-level executives. By then, if he fails, it will be the best time for us to win him over. Who said Pain can only beat rice? People also have brains and can think, okay? And what if he wins? Conan asked. How much armed force do you think Konoha will have left after he wins? Pain said with a chuckle. Yes. Conan's eyes lit up. No matter who loses or who wins, both sides will inevitably lose their strength. Originally, after Konoha has experienced so many internal strife, her good background has almost been tossed. This is if there is another chaos. I'm afraid the whole village will be destroyed in name only. By the time, they went to Konoha to capture Nine Tails Jinchuriki and recover the tail beasts. Who else can stop their organization? If you think about it this way, this time Kakuzu and Haiden not only did nothing wrong, but they did it very well. Let them discover Knight Ryosuke, a powerful ninja hidden in Konoha in advance. 12-year-old peak Kaga level. TSK. Conan couldn't help feeling a little envious. On a cliff more than 10 kilometers away from Rain Shinobi Village. Ju, who just left Rain Shinobi Village, came out of the ground. You're here. On the edge of the cliff, Uchiha Obito, wearing a Uzumaki mask, reveals a one-eyed Uchiha Obito looking back. I heard from White Zetsu. What happened to Kakuzu and Haiden? Asked Obito. Zhu nodded, and then repeated what he had said to Pain before. Pain intends to ignore this knight, God Ryosuke, for the time being. Said at the end, Pain's decision is correct. At this time, the Akatsuki organization should continue to accumulate strength for lurking. Now is not the best time to start recovering the tail beast. Obito nodded, approving Pain's decision. However, is this knight, God Ryosuke, really that strong? Obito looked at Ju and asked him. Very strong, whether it's taijutsu or ninjutsu, they are all at the Kaga level, especially his ninjutsu. A sea-level water chaos wave is comparable to an S-level water style. Except for his young age, he has no fighting skills. Apart from experience, it's just that the talent in illusion has not been seen yet. Never said. Really? It's just Kaga level, not a threat. By the way, does he have any blood inheritance limits? Asked Obito. Yes, a kind of constitution-type blood succession limit. His flesh/body can directly resist B-level lightning style without being injured. This is the information Juezai, Konoha, heard. After rescuing Kakuzu and Haiden, Ju immediately went to inquire about the information about Knight God Ryosuke. Then he went to report the matter to Pain and Obito in front of him. It's just physical strength? Absolutely nodded. Then there's no need to pay attention. Obito waved his hand. Obviously, he didn't like such a blood succession limit. After all, no matter how strong the attack is, can it be stronger than Zhang Jin's third Raikage? It's better than third Raikage, but it's still consumed by a Wagakure's tens of thousands of ninja troops. Not to mention, it is this type of ninja that Obito has the least fear of. On the contrary, ninjas like Namikaze Minato, who are not very powerful in terms of attack, but are extremely maneuverable, intelligent, and extremely intelligent in combat, are his nemesis. A powerful brash, Obito thinks he doesn't need to care about this kind of person. Even if he is only 12 years old this year, he may become stronger in the future. But so what? No matter how strong he is, can he break the space and hurt himself in hollow state? If it doesn't hurt, it's useless. Pay attention to the situation on Pain's side. This guy is not so easy to deceive. If there is anything wrong, please let me know immediately, and I will solve him. Obito ordered to Ju. Ju nodded, then got into the ground and disappeared. Lin, it's almost time. I'm about to succeed. You wait for me for a few more years. Obito looked at a silver moon in the distance, and the girl's sweet smile appeared in his mind. Konoha, Yagami Ryosuke's home. 0:30 in the room. The window was open. Knight God Ryosuke is sitting on the roof, looking at the moon in the sky in a daze. By the way, Tsutsuki Kagaya has been sealed on the moon for so many years. Is she awake all the time, or is she always asleep? If it's in a sane state, wouldn't it be crazy? For thousands of years, I was alone, unable to eat or play, and could only constantly recall the betrayal of my sons. Just thinking about it is enough to drive people crazy. Should have spent it in a deep sleep. Knight God Ryosuke thought silently. More than an hour later. Huh? Is it finally gone? The corners of Yagami Ryosuke's mouth curled up slightly, revealing a smile. Before that, he and Yui Shien parted ways and went home separately. While on the road, Knight God Ryosuke felt that someone was following him, but he didn't expose him. It wasn't until just now that the person who followed and monitored him left. Brush. Knight God Ryosuke split a shadow clone. Follow and see where he goes. Knight God Ryosuke ordered a shadow clone. Shadow clone nodded expressionlessly, and then a body flicker technique disappeared on the roof. The high probability is Danzo's men, but it may also be Sarutobi Hiruzen's. When I was in Hokage's office today, there was still a person hiding in the dark. I don't know who that person is. Knight God Ryosuke didn't open his eyes in advance, so he only sensed the existence of a person. But who it is, I don't know. A few minutes later, the shadow clone, following the watcher, watched the ninja walk into a building. On the surface, this building is just a very ordinary shop. But it's late at night, and the shops are closed early. And this ninja directly opened the back door and walked in. Shadow Clone thought for a while and also sneaked up silently without being noticed by the person in front. It wasn't until the opponent opened a secret door, revealing a passage extending diagonally downwards behind, that Shadow Clone stopped and did not continue to follow. It's so sneaky, it must be because the roots haven't escaped, Shadow Clone thought to himself, and after leaving the shop, he took the initiative to disperse the chakra in his body. Boom! With this, Shadow Clone disappears. Night God Ryosuke, who was at home, also received this memory from the Shadow Clone. Chapter 78. Deduct Danzo's right eye. Loot the distinguished heavenly gods. Third update, sure enough, I knew it was Danzo, the LYB. Night God Ryosuke has an expression of as I expected. But is that where the original root entrance is located? I thought it was hiding in a mountain or something. This is probably the big hermit in the city, right? Since we found the entrance to the root, why not visit Danzo now? Night God Ryosuke smiled, then stood up, swiped, and disappeared on the roof. In the room, a Shadow Clone replaces Night Ryosuke lying on the bed, pretending to be asleep. As for the Night God Ryosuke himself, at this time, he has used the transformation technique to transform into another model. He even put on a mask in order not to be seen through. He bought the mask casually at a street stall when he was outside, mainly because he thought it was very similar to Obito's Uzumaki mask, so he bought it. Didn't expect it to come in handy so soon. Roots planted deep underground in the leaves. The internal passages are staggered and very complicated, just like adopting appropriate methods. If there is no acquaintance to lead the way, I am afraid that the intruder will get lost by himself and then walk into the room with the trap in a daze. At this time, in the passageway at the entrance, Ryosuke, the night god disguised as Doko, is walking like a stroll in the garden. He didn't deliberately hide his figure. However, those ninjas at the roots didn't seem to see him, and even Ryosuke, the night god, passed directly in front of them, and there was no gap between them. It's weird. Zeno's talent entry for the invisible is really powerful, reducing the sense of presence by 15 times. Plus, I use illusion to cooperate. It's like entering a land without people. At this time, Ryosuke's eyes have opened his Mangeki, and under the blessing of Sharingan's enhanced illusion ability, it is combined with the effect of the talent entry, invisible. Let him even appear directly in front of those root ninjas. None of them can see the existence of Night God Ryosuke. It's outrageous. Then, Yagami Ryosuke stops and starts. Open this door for a while, open that door for a while. It's like going shopping at the roots. However, those root ninjas who patrolled by completely ignored his existence. A second ago, Yagami Ryosuke just opened a door and walked into a room. The root ninja who passed by the door in the next second clearly saw the door of the room opened and was even destined to take a look inside, but he couldn't see the night god Ryosuke standing in the room openly. He closed the door easily. Ryosuke, the night god in the room, was almost suffocated because he really thinks this scene is particularly funny. After shopping for a while, I collected a lot of biopheromones from root ninjas along the way and stored them in the warehouse. At this moment, Night God Ryosuke opened another door. It turned out that there was a laboratory inside the door. All kinds of bottles and cans are piled up together, and the contents inside are all human tissues. Disgusting. Yagami Ryosuke saw that some root researchers were doing some research on some human tissue slices. So he walked to the side and observed for a while. Then I realized I couldn't understand it at all. Sure enough, there is a specialization in the art industry. He really doesn't understand scientific research. At this time, someone came at the door where Night God Ryosuke came in just now. Night God Ryosuke looked back and found that the person who came in was Danzo with one eye and a cane. The old fellow, for real. Night God Ryosuke looked Danzo up and down. The latter was completely unaware that the target he wanted to kill was standing in front of him, and he was still complaining about his ugly appearance. How's the Uchiha bloodline research going? As soon as Danzo came in, an old man in his 50s or 60s greeted him. He should be the supervisor here or something. Facing Danzo's inquiry, the supervisor answered while wiping his sweat. He looked very nervous. At present, we haven't researched an effective cloning method, but Mr. Danzo, please give us a little more time, and I will definitely be able to research results. The supervisor was full of assurances, but Danzo looked at him with increasingly distrustful eyes. Not that the executive betrayed him. After all, the researchers here are all sealed by him, and it is impossible to betray them. The reason why he doesn't trust is because he doesn't trust the other party's ability. Danzo remembered it well. The last time he came, including the last time he came, this guy used the same rhetoric. They all said to give him a little more time, and then said that the research results will be available soon. But how long has it been? This sentence made Danzo's ears grow calluses. Still haven't seen the result. How does this make Danzo trust their abilities? Certainly, these researchers can be arranged by Danzo to do research in a root base, which in itself shows that they are indeed capable. But now it seems that the ability is there, but not much. Compared to Orochimaru, not on the same level at all. Let Danzo very disappointed. Sure enough, we still have to rely on the big snake to hold on. Danzo shook his head in disappointment. Forget it. You won't be needed for the next research. Just sort out the previous research materials, and the old man will order someone to come and take them away later. You won't be needed for this project in the future. Hearing Danzo's words, the supervisor in front of him was instantly terrified. He fell to his knees on the ground with a plop. Danzo-sama, please give us another chance. I beg you, sir. We can do it this time. Danzo looked coldly at the supervisor kneeling on the ground and said after a while, this time, I will give you another chance. Another research target will be sent over in a few days, and I will hand it over to you. Remember, this time, the old man doesn't want to hear any more words about giving you a little more time, understand? The supervisor, kneeling on the ground in front of him, quickly made a promise of gratitude. On the other hand, Ryosuke, the night god, had a strange expression on his face. He always felt that the research target Danzo just mentioned was talking about him. Combined, Danzo had just sent someone to assassinate him. Night god Ryosuke is almost sure that this guy is talking about him. Are you planning to keep an eye on me? Yagami Ryosuke sneered. Danzo had a good idea. Pity. It just means that the ability is a little bit worse. And it was known in advance by the night god Ryosuke. Then it's even more impossible to succeed. Follow Danzo out of that lab. Yagami Ryosuke watched him turn east and west, and came to a file room lined with various files. This time the rooting task failed. The root cause was that unknown explosion. But what caused this explosion? Danzo muttered to himself, picking up a scroll from the cabinet. The scroll opens. What is recorded in it is the information of some ninjas who are good at making large explosions in the ninja world. He flipped through. After a while, I finally found some clues and a piece of information from a Wagakure. This one is called Deidara, who has been fond of all kinds of explosions since he was a child. Still a disciple of Tsukage and a traitor. Is this Deidara responsible for this explosion? Danzo held the information in his hand, thinking about the possibilities. In the night, god Ryosuke on the side leaned over and looked at Danzo with a smile in his eyes. Deidara, I didn't expect Danzo to have information about this explosive artist, but did he suspect Deidara? That's right, this guy likes to explode so much. And he's a traitor. It's entirely possible that he did it. If it weren't for the night god Ryosuke, it would be the instigator. To be honest, even he can't help but wonder if Deidara did it. After all, such a large-scale explosion, besides Deidara, who else in the ninja world can do it? Huh? Who's there? Danzo was wondering if it was possible that Deidara did it, when he suddenly felt a throbbing sensation in his bandaged right eye. He subconsciously turned his head to look to the side. Next second puff, a flash of blood. Danzo let out a muffled grunt and quickly took a few steps back, looking at the mysterious man wearing the Uzumaki mask in front of him with a horrified expression. It's you. Danzo mistook the other party for the guy who called himself Uchiha Madara, whom he had seen last time. But upon closer inspection, there are some differences between the two. Last time the guy who called himself Uchiha Madara was one-eyed. But the one in front of him, who also wears the Uzumaki mask, is a person with sound eyes. But the same thing is, both have Manjiki Sharingan. Danzo has never seen the pair of Manjiki of the Uzumaki masked man in front of him. I just feel uncomfortable being stared at by these eyes. Damn Uchiha! Danzo cursed secretly, then shouted, "Come on," and immediately called for helpers. Go it alone? Feel sorry. It's been a long time since Master Danzo has fought in person. Coupled with the opponent's weird way of appearing on the stage and detaining his right eye as soon as he made a move. This scares Danzo. How dare you fight alone with each other? At this moment, Night God Ryosuke is holding a Sharingan that is still bleeding with one hand. There's also a playful smile on the corner of the mouth under the mask. Plunder. Next second, the Sharingan in his hand shriveled at a speed visible to the naked eye. At the same time, the pattern of the original Manjiki gradually regressed back to the shape of the three-pointed jade, until the three-tomo completely disappeared and became an ordinary eye. At this time, Night God Ryosuke also sensed that his left eye has another kind of pupil technique. Distinguished heavenly gods left to contemporarily target hypnosis, manipulate its thinking, and make it become its own puppet unconsciously. But this manipulation must be done at close range, and it cannot be interrupted. Once it is interrupted, the technique will be interrupted and the target will recover, but he will not realize that there is something wrong with him just now. The advantage is that this technique can be performed without eye contact, and on Ryosuke, the night god, 500% of the power of the pupil technique has been added through the talent entry. That makes the effect of this distinguished heavenly gods even more stunning. The operation distance is longer, the effect is very good, and it can even control multiple targets. And if you use the Manjiki in the left eye to cast illusions, the effect will be doubled. This is also the basic ability of this Manjiki, which is a passive effect, as expected of the eyes of Uchiha Sure Sway. Unfortunately, only one. It would be nice to have both. Night God Ryosuke thought greedily, while casually throwing away this useless eye. My distinguished heavenly gods. Danzo didn't know that distinguished heavenly gods' pupil art had been looted by Night God Ryosuke. All he saw was Ryosuke, the night god, throwing this distinguished heavenly gods on the good money, ground recklessly and stomping on it. Hateful. Where the hell did this guy come from? Why destroy this distinguished heavenly gods of the old man? Danzo was furious. Just in time, the root ninjas also arrived here. Master Danzo, quick, protect Lord Danzo. Where is the intruder? These root ninjas rushed to protect Danzo behind them while scanning around, looking for traces of the intruders. However, Danzo was stunned to find out that the group of root ninjas under him turned a blind eye to the Uzumaki masked man standing in front of him. Bastards! People are ahead of you. Danzo cursed angrily. But the root ninjas around him looked at Danzo with dumbfounded expressions. Just in front? But there is nothing in front of it. Yagami Ryosuke watched this scene with a smile. He just used the Manjiki in his left eye to cast an illusion to confuse these root ninjas, but deliberately missed a Danzo and found that the effect was indeed much better than before. It's you. You did this. Danzo doesn't believe that these people under him will tease him, so this can only be caused by Uzumaki masked man. That's right. It's me. What can you do? Yagami Ryosuke changed his voice and said group. Hateful. Danzo clenched his fists. Never before had he wanted to kill someone so much. Everyone, release ninjutsu in the direction of my finger. Danzo doesn't care. Even if this archive room is destroyed, he still wants to kill this hateful Uzumaki masked man in front of him. Chapter 79. Night God Ryosuke's Illusion. Grandma Danzo? Third generation. Who are you? How dare you pretend to be Danzo? Fourth more, but Danzo-sama, this is the archive room. If you use ninjutsu, shut up. Danzo cast one eye on the root ninja viciously. The latter was so frightened that he immediately lowered his head, not daring to speak. Do as the old man tells you, Danzo said in a deep voice, then pointed forward. Now, attack that side for the old man. The ninja at the root did not dare to question it, and immediately released ninjutsu in the direction of his finger according to Danzo's order. One after another fire style, wind style, and lightning style bombarded the area in front of them. Danzo laughed and watched the Uzumaki masked man being swallowed up by these ninjutsu, as if he saw the picture of the other party being blasted to pieces. Let you fight against the old man, but this old man is Shimura Dan's, Danzo said with a smug smile. But at this moment, Master Danzo, why are you smiling so happily? A familiar voice suddenly rang in Danzo's ear. What? Danzo jumped away. Then he looked at the unscathed Uzumaki masked man, standing where he was just now, with a look of disbelief. Master Danzo! The root ninjas around couldn't see Night God Ryosuke at all, so they didn't know why Master Danzo suddenly left the position just now and looked at him inexplicably. Don't look, they can't see mine, Yagami Ryosuke jokingly said. And, Mr. Danzo, how can you be sure that the me you see now is the real me? This. Danzo understood instantly. It turned out that like the subordinates around him, he also fell under the opponent's illusion. It's just that the other party made him deliberately see an illusion created by himself, thinking that the other party was there. Actually, the opponent is not in that position at all. God knows where the other party is. Illusion, solution. Danzo desperately formed a seal, trying to unravel the illusion in himself. But no matter how hard he tried, what he saw was still the masked Uzumaki man standing in front of him. This made Danzo's face black. Damn Uchiha. Why is Uchiha's illusion so powerful? Danzo cursed, hating for the first time Uchiha's illusion abilities. Obviously, when he owned the distinguished heavenly gods before, he still liked it very much, but now, TSK. Master Danzo 550 is helpless. Yagami Ryosuke smiled and looked at Danzo, who was already sitting on a wax. To be honest, the old guy Danzo has a way of doing things behind the scenes. The strength is really not that good. Even his Kaga level is very poor. Maybe 10 years ahead, Danzo's strength is still at the Kaga level. But Danzo, who is not trained as a ninja for so many years and has never fought against others, can he still maintain his previous Kaga level strength? Obviously not. This is why, in his future battles with Sasuke, he will repeatedly make various suffocating operations. To be honest, it's just that I haven't fought for so long that I completely forgot how to fight. Although the current Danzo is not as shabby as he will be a few years later. But not too much. When you encounter danger, you only know to call your subordinates to protect yourself. How could such a person be called a scumbag? To the sky, he is just a villain with a dark heart. It's really weak, Danzo. Your strength has disappointed me so much. So I plan to give you a big gift, so you don't have to thank me. Night God Ryosuke suddenly turned his mouth up, revealing a sly smile. Although Danzo couldn't see the expression on his face, he knew from his voice that the other party obviously had bad intentions. Damn, what do you want to do? Danzo backed away in fright, letting his root ninjas protect him tightly. Don't waste your energy, it's useless. Yagami Ryosuke said with a smile. In fact, at this moment, he was hanging upside down from the ceiling. The he that Danzo sees is just a phantom in his eyes. In fact, there is nothing there at all. At this time, Night God Ryosuke looked at Danzo below and directly activated the pupil technique of his right eye. Pupil surgery. Reversal. Next second, Danzo was horrified to find that his body began to undergo terrible changes. First, his pectoral muscle started to swell, and then he found that his component that he hadn't used for many years was also gone, and he couldn't feel it. Then, his hands and feet began to shrink, and his body became shorter. Hair starts to grow long, and Adam's apple disappears. It only takes a few seconds. Danzo was horrified to find that he seemed to have turned into a woman. Exactly, it's an old woman. Mirror. Give me the mirror. Danzo yelled in horror, but I found that my voice had changed. It became thinner. It was completely a woman's voice. Baga, what exactly is going on? The surrounding root ninjas were stunned. They looked back at Master Danzo, who was under the firm protection of themselves and others. How did Master Danzo become Ms. Danzo in the blink of an eye? At this time, a root ninja subconsciously took out a small mirror from his pocket and handed it to Danzo. Danzo took it and looked at himself in the mirror. Even with bandages on his face, Danzo can still see that his appearance has completely changed. He turned into a woman, and she was an ugly old woman in her 60s and 70s. This is not old man. Danzo was so frightened that he dropped the mirror in his hand, as if he was about to collapse. Master Danzo, what's going on here? Are you really Master Danzo? The root ninjas under him also looked at her hesitantly. If it weren't for the curse mark on his body telling them that the person in front of him was their Lord Danzo. To be honest, they couldn't connect this ugly old woman with Lord Danzo no matter what. At this time, Danzo suddenly formed a madra with his hands and cast transformation technique, turning himself into his original appearance. Fortunately, the transformation technique is still useful. Danzo is now particularly thankful that he has not forgotten how to use the transformation technique, although he has not used it for more than 10 or 20 years. But the muscle memory of the past is still there. Otherwise, he can't really show his face outside like this woman. Can he? Especially when I went to meet Sarutobi Hiruzen. She can't keep that look, can she? So what would Sarutobi Hiruzen think? Danzo has been a man for more than 70 years. And suddenly he doesn't want to be a man? Want to try another gender? Thinking of the expression on Hiruzen's face, Danzo was so embarrassed that he couldn't help but want to commit seppuku. Danzo, I hope you like this gift from me. Yagami Ryosuke smiled, and then left the archive room that had been burned. There's still a lot of good things at the root, not to mention the biological pheromones on these root ninjas. The ninjutsu they collected alone are worth the trip of Night God Ryosuke. Not to mention, Night God Ryosuke also looted a pupil of distinguished heavenly gods tonight. Also turned Danzo into Grandma Danzo. I wonder if Danzo will have nightmares at night? Night God Ryosuke packed up these ninjutsu scrolls in Jinbu's collection, leaving none of them for them, and Abka took them all away. During the whole process, the roots who were ordered by Danzo to patrol around did not find out what he had done at all. Wait until they find that all these ninjutsu scrolls have disappeared. Yagami Ryosuke has already gone home to sleep. Tonight, he has gained too much. There are as many as 50 or 60 servings of Jnin-level biopheromones alone. That is to say, there are at least 50 or 60 Jnin at the root. Among them is the existence of elite Jnin. Then there is Chinins, which is as many as 200 or 300 copies. There is also a biological pheromone from Danzo. I wonder what kind of talent entry this thing can transform into. But no matter how rubbish it is, Danzo's status is still there. In addition, there is another existence known as the darkness of the ninja world. At least it must be a purple talent entry, right? Don't say anything else. Even if it is used to decompose, you can get 1,000 experience points. This is the same experience value for nothing. Don't want it for nothing. Next day, Yagami Ryosuke had breakfast at home in the morning, then said goodbye to his mother Yagami Mizuki, changed into Umbu's uniform, and went to Umbu to clock in for work. Today's task is still patrolling. But instead of patrolling the enchantment outside the village, it was replaced by patrolling inside the village. On the roof of a house, Yagami Ryosuke and his 7 squad crouched here, observing the passers-by below. See if any suspicious guys are in the mix. Did you hear that? Something happened to Jinbu last night. A large group of Jinbu ninjas were looking for someone in the base in the middle of the night. It seems that their base was invaded and a lot of ninjutsu scrolls were taken away. At this time, Tengu suddenly got up to 8 trigrams and talked about a piece of explosive news he had heard. The roots have been invaded? Who is so bold? Both Black Fong and Shadow looked at him and asked in surprise. On the contrary, Captain Yuzuki Ian glanced towards Yagami Ryosuke. Out of a woman's sixth sense, she felt that this matter was probably done by Night God Ryosuke. And others don't know. Will Yuzuki Shien not know the strength of Night God Ryosuke? For Night God Ryosuke, it seems that it is not difficult to invade the roots. That is, after the invasion, he didn't blow up the whole root, which somewhat surprised Yuzuki Shien. Black Fong and the others listened to the Tengu talking about the route being invaded last night. While on the other side, in Hokage's office, third Hokage, Sarutobi Hiruzen, also called Danzo, and personally asked about the situation last night. Hiruzen, what do you want from this old man? Danzo opened the door and came in, looking very bad. Sarutobi Hiruzen also knew that Danzo must be in a bad mood right now, so he went straight to the point and planned to ask about the situation of the intruder. He suspects that the ninja who invaded the route is likely to be the mysterious person who released a large-scale ninjutsu on the outskirts of the village some time ago. But just as Sarutobi Hiruzen wanted to ask Danzo about this, he found that Danzo, in front of him, actually used the transformation technique. As a veteran Kage-level powerhouse, even if Sarutobi Hiruzen is old and his eyes are dim, it is impossible not to see the traces of transformation technique. So he immediately slapped the table and stood up. Who are you? How dare you pretend to be Danzo? Brush, brush. In an instant, 5 or 6 Umbu appeared in the office. Surround Danzo. Danzo, who was quite calm on the surface, couldn't help cursing his mother at this moment. Damn, the Uchiha clan. It really is the evil family that the teacher said can use such evil ninjutsu. Is there anything more evil than this in this world? Danzo cursed inwardly. He tried various methods last night, but he couldn't change himself back to his original appearance. Then Sarutobi Hiruzen summoned him at this time. He can't get rid of it. There's no way. I can only come over with the transformation technique. Danzo knew that Sarutobi Hiruzen would see the traces of transformation technique on him. After all, if you can't even see this, then Sarutobi Hiruzen is really useless. Really, he just came in, and the traces of transformation technique on his body were discovered by his old friend. Hiruzen, don't get excited. This old man is not someone else's disguise. Danzo said as calmly as possible. You let these Umbu down first, and the old man will tell you the reason for doing so. Danzo thought, well, even if you want to lose face, you can only let Sarutobi Hiruzen see it alone. These Umbu, absolutely not. Pity, he muttered about how afraid Sarutobi Hiruzen was of death. Sarutobi Hiruzen didn't believe what Danzo said at all, and he didn't let these Umbu quit. Instead, he asked Danzo to cancel the transformation technique immediately, otherwise he would order these Umbu to take him down. No, Hiruzen, listen to my explanation. Danzo is in a hurry. He didn't want the news that he had turned into a woman to be known by these Umbu. God knows if they will spread the word. When the time comes, will he, Shimura Dans, still stay in this village? It's dead right now. Chapter 80, Danzo besieged. Die in public. Fifth change, get him for the old man. Sarutobi Hiruzen didn't listen to Danzo's explanation. This person in front of him dared to pretend to be Danzo, and even used such a despicable technique as the transformation technique. Do you think that Sarutobi Hiruzen has become so old and dizzy? Thought he couldn't even see the mirror transformation technique came out? That's right, he does get nosebleeds from Naruto's weird transformation technique. But that's because the visual impact is too strong relationship. It's not that he really couldn't see that Naruto used the transformation technique. It can be seen that Sarutobi Hiruzen can't see the real appearance of the caster through the transformation technique. Just the power of Naruto's technique. Which how does it get nosebleed? The Umbu in the Hokage's office, under the order of Sarutobi Hiruzen, the third Hokage, instantly killed the intruder in the encirclement. Danzo, I'm a grass mud horse. Did you hear my grass mud horse? Danzo cursed with a black face. One side quickly launched a counterattack. No way. He can't be caught without a fight, can he? As soon as he saw Danzo counterattack, Sarutobi Hiruzen was even more sure that the other party was approaching him with some kind of evil plan. Then, Sarutobi Hiruzen directly summoned more Umbu and wanted to arrest this intruder who dared to pretend to be Danzo. Boom! Danzo was hit directly through the window of Hokage's office, jumped from the upstairs, and landed on the open space outside the Hokage building. At this time, after receiving the news, Umbu and many ninjas who were nearby also rushed here. Even Kakashi, who was originally here to pick up the mission, was among them. Naruto, Sasuke, little Sakura, stand back. This is not a fight you can participate in, Kakashi said with a serious face. At the same time, he pulled up his forehead protector, revealing the Sharingan. Teacher Kakashi, what's wrong with your eyes? Is it pink eye? Naruto pointed at Kakashi's Sharingan innocently. He didn't know what a Sharingan was and thought that Kakashi had some kind of pink eye disease, so he had to cover that eye all day long. Kakashi, you call Sharingan pink eye? That is to say, the Uchiha family is gone, or they will be beaten into pig heads in minutes. Kakashi, why do you have Sharingan from our Uchiha clan? Sasuke also looked at Kakashi's eyes in surprise. Of course, like Naruto, he will not think that it is some kind of pink eye disease. He has already activated the Sharingan of Shan Goyu himself, so it is very clear that this is a 3-Tomo Sharingan. But Kakashi is not from the Uchiha clan. His surname is Hitaki. How could there be their Sharingan of the Uchiha clan? We'll talk about this later. Deal with the intruder now. Kakashi didn't have time to explain his eye to Sasuke. He rushed up with the other ninjas after saying something. At this time, Danzo was already scolding his mother nonstop in his heart. He was besieged by ninjas from his own village, but he still can't remove the transformation technique from his body, explaining that he is really Danzo, not some intruder. Seeing more and more ninjas coming around. Danzo dare not withdraw transformation technique. Damn Uchiha, I hate it. At this time, Danzo's hatred for the Uchiha clan has reached an unprecedented level. Just at this time, Kakashi with a Sharingan appeared in front of him. Without even thinking about it, Danzo released his most powerful wind style and just stared at Kakashi and chased him fiercely. Does this guy have a grudge against me? Why is everyone besieging you? But you only stare at me and fight alone? You are so sick. Kakashi, I'll always help you. Leaf strong whirlwind. A green figure rushed up at an extremely fast speed and instantly kicked away Danzo, who was chasing after Kakashi. Danzo felt like his arm was going numb. Fortunately, at this time, there was a warm current from his other arm, which quickly recovered his arm. Danzo looked up and saw another guy who left him speechless. A green jumpsuit, the iconic watermelon head, and the big white fan that is almost blinding. My guy, this precious beast has also come. Danzo felt bitter, but he couldn't tell the truth. Damn Hiruzen, why don't you believe me? Danzo complained about Sarutobi Hiruzen in his heart. Originally, this matter was quite simple. As long as Sarutobi Hiruzen just made those Umbu retreat, he would naturally withdraw transformation technique and tell Sarutobi Hiruzen the truth. That would make him lose face in front of his old friends. But Danzo can't control that much anymore. It's better to lose face in front of one person than in front of the whole village, right? But who would have thought that things would develop in a direction that he hadn't expected at all? Danzo was so angry. Yo, Naruto Sasuke, you're here too. Oh, and little Sakura, Night God Ryosuke, who was wearing Umbu uniform, also arrived here with the 7th squad of Umbu, and then saw Naruto and the others standing on the edge watching the battle. So I went over to say hello. Are you Ryosuke? Naruto looked at Night God Ryosuke in surprise. He had never seen Night God Ryosuke in Umbu's uniform. Well, but you have to call me Yua now. This is my codename in Umbu. Yagami Ryosuke nodded. Yeah, what's going on over there? Sasuke quickly accepted the Night God Ryosuke's outfit and immediately asked curiously. Because Night God Ryosuke is a member of Umbu, Sasuke thought he would know some inside information that they didn't know. I just came here, so I don't know what's going on there. Yagami Ryosuke shook his head and spread his hands. But, in fact, he probably already guessed it in his heart, because the guy who is being besieged at this moment is really Shimura Dan's, not some intruder in disguise. It's just that Danzo didn't dare to show his real appearance now. After all, that would be too social. If you think about it from another position, if Ryosuke is in the position of Danzo, he will not remove the transformation technique even if he is killed. He would rather choose to fight all the way out of the village than die in society. Certainly, Night God Ryosuke has this ability. But Danzo, forget it. Right now he's about to be beaten like a dog by Kakashi and my guy. I won't tell you. I'm going to help. Night God Ryosuke felt the need to help Danzo. For example, let him get rid of the predicament in front of him and then experience what social death is, by the way. Brush. Night God Ryosuke drew his ninja sword and rushed forward. Like other members of Umbu, he assists Kakashi and Might Guy in the front to besiege Danzo. It's just that Night God Ryosuke cast an illusion when others didn't notice. The target is Danzo in the encirclement. At this time, Danzo was shot right through the heart by Kakashi's Raikiri. But just when everyone thought the target had been solved, the corpse on the ground with a pierced heart suddenly disappeared. Then another Danzo appeared. What kind of weird ninjutsu is this? Or have all the people present seen this kind of ninjutsu that can be resurrected from the dead? Or is this some kind of illusion? In fact, the other party is not dead at all. The one who died was just a stand-in. In any case, if the target is still alive, it is impossible for them to stop. Just when Kakashi was about to let Might Guy hold him back and cast Raikiri again, Danzo suddenly yelled, "Stop! Hiruzen, tell your people to stop immediately. This old man will remove the transformation technique." Danzo looked at his bandaged arm distressedly, not visible to others, but he knew that there was a Sharingan on it that had been closed forever and could no longer be used. This is a life. Danzo is called a distressed, so he felt that he couldn't go on like this anymore. Even if he desperately wanted to die, he had to explain it clearly to Hiruzen. If it drags on, he doesn't know how many Sharingan he will lose. Even he might die at the hands of these ninjas from his own village. But what Danzo didn't know, the reason why he figured it out so quickly was due to the illusion of Night God Ryosuke. Hearing Danzo's words, Sarutobi Hiruzen also walked to the front surrounded by a group of Konoha shinobi followers. "Zero, seek, everyone stop," Sarutobi Hiruzen said loudly. Then he looked at Danzo in the circle, frowning. "You can remove the transformation technique now." Danzo gritted his teeth in hatred, but had to do it. No way, he really died here, right? "Hiruzen, just wait. You don't have a long time to live. When you die, I will take good care of your family." Danzo really hated Sarutobi Hiruzen this time. If this guy didn't trust him, things wouldn't be like this. This time, Hishimura Danz is doomed. In the future, when he went out again, he didn't dare to go out with his true appearance. If the high-level Konoha holds a meeting, Danzo even wanted to find some excuse to decline. Otherwise, he was afraid that everyone would see his jokes. "Hiruzen," this old man asks one last time, "can you let these people go?" Danzo tries to make a last-ditch effort. However, Sarutobi Hiruzen just responded him with a cold look. Impossible. No negotiation. Danzo gave up. He doesn't struggle anymore. Social death is social death. Next second, Danzo removed the transformation technique from his body and changed back to his true form. The clothes are the same clothes. The bandages are the same bandages. But this is the man. Puff. In the crowd, who didn't know who couldn't hold back, laughed. Who? Who? Danzo glanced around with one eye, as if breathing fire, looking for the source of that laughter. And the Night God Ryosuke, who was hiding in the crowd, was meeting the gazes from the side at this time, with a look of "it's none of my business." That's right. He was the one who laughed out loud just now. No way, it was so funny. He didn't hold back. The other side, Sarutobi Hiruzen also looked at the changed Danzo in shock. In fact, when many ninjas besieged Danzo just now, Sarutobi Hiruzen found that this guy's fighting style was almost exactly the same as Danzo in his memory. And he also used various ninjutsu that Danzo was good at. Sarutobi Hiruzen would have believed that the opponent was Danzo if the opponent hadn't killed him and refused to remove the transformation technique. And now, seeing Danzo like this, Sarutobi Hiruzen suddenly understood why Danzo was unwilling to remove the transformation technique even after killing him. If it were him, he wouldn't want to either. No wonder Danzo wanted to chat with him alone time and time again. Feelings are for this reason. "Danzo, what are you?" Sarutobi Hiruzen understands the reason, but still can't figure out how Danzo became like this. It was fine 2 days ago. Could it be that the surgery recovery is so fast now? It's the intruder from last night. Danzo gritted his teeth and said. Now the person he hated most was the intruder followed by Sarutobi Hiruzen in front of him. They all made him look like this. The other made him die in public in the village. All deserved to die 10,000 times. The intruder? The one who took those ninjutsu scrolls from your roots? Sarutobi Hiruzen asked. Danzo nodded. To be honest, he didn't care about ninjutsu scrolls at all. Compared with what happened to him, were some ninjutsu scrolls worth? Then you haven't tried to remove this look? Sarutobi Hiruzen thinks that Danzo is under some kind of vicious secret technique, but there should be a way to undo it. It is impossible for any secret technique to be completely unsolvable. Unbeknownst to Sarutobi Hiruzen, this is not a secret technique, but Mangeky's pupil technique. And it just so happens that this Mangeky pupil art of Ryosuke is really unsolvable. I've tried everything I can think of, and nothing works. Danzo said with a sullen face. In fact, he had already guessed that the one in his hand should be Mangeky's pupil technique. It's just that he couldn't figure out why the Mangeky Sharingan of the Uchiha family had such an unscrupulous pupil technique. Who will tell him? What kind of heart is it that awakens this kind of pupil technique? Chapter 81. The news spreads. Danzo has no face to face anyone. The purpose of preparing for the CH-NIN exam. 6 more, is that so? Sarutobi Hiruzen also frowned. He didn't care about Danzo's appearance, but he was worried that if he met that person one day in the future, how would he face such a secret technique? If he, like Danzo, became like this, will it be him who will die at that time? Thinking of this, Sarutobi Hiruzen couldn't help feeling a chill. At the same time, I also vowed to let Umbu's ninja go first when encountering enemies in the future. He didn't dare to go up to fight the opponent, even if he said nothing. What if this person happens to be the ninja who made Danzo look like this? Didn't he take the initiative to hit someone with a gun? Okay, come with me first. Sarutobi Hiruzen looked at Danzo's appearance. To be honest, even though he was an old friend for decades, Sarutobi Hiruzen still felt a little disgusted. Heard, Danzo also nodded and was about to leave when he suddenly thought of something and cast a cold glance at Kakashi over there. Kakashi, you are fine, Danzo said viciously. Kakashi didn't know when he pulled down his forehead protector, revealing one eye staring at the dead fish eyes. Facing Danzo's threat, he didn't care at all. I've been fine, Danzo snorted coldly, and then stepped forward to catch up with Sarutobi Hiruzen in front. Kakashi didn't care about offending Danzo, because what should be offended? He is already offended. After all, Kakashi is the Umbu that came out from the root and joined. Since then, Danzo has hated Kakashi for 5-2-3. If it weren't for the protection of Sarutobi Hiruzen, Danzo would have already attacked Kakashi. Thinking that one of his Sharingan was wasted on Kakashi, Danzo couldn't help but increase his hatred for Kakashi. Damn Uchiha obviously hates Kakashi, but Danzo scolds Uchiha. However, there's nothing wrong with that. This is Danzo after all. It's gone. There's nothing to see. The ninjas present also dispersed one after another. However, with the departure of these ninjas, what happened here today may be spread throughout Konoha within a day, and then those spies hiding in Konoha will spread the news to farther places. I'm afraid that in a few days, Danzo, the well-known darkness of the ninja world, will become the laughing stock of the ninja world. Miserable, really miserable. But who let him provoke the night god Ryosuke without incident? Miserable is also made by oneself. All I can say is deserve it. Naruto, Sasuke, let's go. Let's have dinner together next time. Night god Ryosuke waved at Naruto and the others over there, and then continued today's patrol mission. While on the other side, Sasuke is also staring at Kakashi. With sharp eyes, Kakashi couldn't stand it. No way. He could only explain the origin of his Sharingan to Sasuke. Noon, Yagami Ryosuke found Hinata and Ino, who were taking a lunch break, and the 3 of them were eating bento at the edge of field. Ryosuke, there seems to be some news in the village that Elder Danzo has turned into a woman. Is it true? Also, who is Elder Danzo? During the meal, Ino suddenly asked curiously, have you heard about this too? Night god Ryosuke secretly marveled at the speed at which this 8 trigrams news spread. In less than half a day, Even Ino and the Genins have heard of it? Sharp. Yes. But Teacher Hong told us not to discuss this matter. Hinata nodded. She had also heard the news. It seems that this matter has been completely spread in the village now. A lot of people are talking about it. Sister Hong is right not to let you discuss it. Elder Danzo is a member of the elders group in the village and the leader of the root, so it can be said that he has a high position and authority. Sister Hong doesn't let you discuss it. It's for your own good. Yagami Ryosuke introduced the situation of Danzo. In fact, many ninjas who knew who Danzo was did not deliberately discuss this matter. The ones who spread the most, on the contrary, are those genin and ordinary people who don't understand anything. Where do genin know Elder Danzo? And at a young age, there are many guys who are not afraid of anything, such as Naruto and Inuzuka Teeth. As for ordinary people, they don't even know who Danzo is. Anyway, they treated it as an 8 trigrams news and discussed it, but it spread quickly. Soon it spread throughout the village. Danzo's side apparently also got a report from his subordinates. But there is no limit to this thing. Never give a password. The key is that it is useless. Unless you have someone watching everyone 24 hours a day, how do you know they won't be discussing it behind their backs? And some things are the more you don't let them do it, the more they will do it. It is better to be sparse than to be blocked. Anyway, time will dilute everything. But during this time, Danzo doesn't plan to go out again. Even when he had to go out, he would go out in a different way. Never show your true colors to others. Danzo-sama, Hokage-sama, please. Danzo, no. Hiruzen UFG. I just said that during this period of time, if you kill me and don't go out, you just ask someone to call me over? And I just got back from the Hokage building. If you really have something urgent, did you just say no? Why do you have to go back and forth like this? Are you kidding me? Danzo's heart was burning with anger. But looking at the 2 Umbu ninjas in front of him, he still took a deep breath and then suppressed the anger in his heart. I'm not angry. I'm not angry. Anyway, Hiruzen doesn't have long to live. What do I care about with a dying person? Danzo comforted himself in his heart. After giving some instructions to his subordinates, he followed the 2 Umbu and left. Hokage office. There are not only Sarutobi Hiruzen here, but also 2 other members of the elders, Midokado Hamura and the Sleeping Village. And Konoha's brains, Nara Shikahiza, was also present. When Danzo opened the door and came in and saw so many people in the office, his face darkened instantly. Damn, Hiruzen, I'm Chao Nima. The dark-faced Danzo didn't say a word when he came in. No one is pleasing to the eye. Danzo, withdraw the transformation technique. Sarutobi Hiruzen ordered. Danzo. Anyway, I have already lost someone once, so I'm not afraid of losing it again. However, Danzo's hatred for Sarutobi Hiruzen has increased a bit, almost caught up with the Uzumaki mask man who made him like this. Danzo, you've really turned into a woman. Seeing Danzo, who removed the transformation technique, Yuditane Koharu also looked at her in surprise. She didn't find Danzo disgusted like this. Instead, I feel closer to Danzo. After all, in the past, among the 4 of them, she was the only woman. But now, there is an extra Danzo. Isn't this 2 to 2? Just right. Shut up, Koharu, Danzo said viciously. Yuditane Koharu chuckled and didn't care about Danzo's bad attitude. She also knew that Danzo wasn't used to being a woman yet. Once she gets used to it, it won't be like this anymore. And what's wrong with being a woman? Yuditane Koharu thinks it's pretty good. Ahem. All right, since Danzo is here, let's start discussing that matter. Sarutobi Hiruzen coughed twice, making everyone look away from Danzo and look at himself. Normally, Danzo would be the first to speak at such times, but right now Danzo is standing on the sidelines, completely acting like an outsider, with no intention of asking any questions. Seeing this, Sarutobi Hiruzen couldn't help but chuckle in his heart. He finds out that there are benefits to Danzo being a woman. The biggest advantage is that Danzo began to feel embarrassed to express himself. He seemed to be afraid that everyone's attention would be on him, and then greeted with dazzling eyes. It seems that I should thank that intruder instead, Sarutobi Hiruzen thought to himself. Certainly, if he really met that person, Sarutobi Hiruzen would definitely let his subordinate Umbu rush forward without saying a word. After all, if you can have today's Danzo, you may have your future self. Sarutobi Hiruzen doesn't want to become a miserable zero like Danzo. Just look at Danzo now. Although he is still alive, he is better than dead. Danzo really felt that his life would be worse than death at this time, especially feeling Sarutobi Hiruzen's playful eyes, which made him suffer even more. Damn Hiruzen, how dare he? No matter how thick-skinned Danzo was, Danzo could hardly hold back when his old friends in the past saw jokes like this. Fortunately, Sarutobi Hiruzen also knew it was not good to continue provoking Danzo. He was not asked to say a few words by name. During the whole discussion, Danzo seemed to be wandering away. When Sarutobi Hiruzen said that everyone could go, he turned around and left Hokage's office without saying a word. As soon as he went out, Danzo used the transformation technique to transform himself into another person. He doesn't dare to change into his original appearance now, because everyone knows that Shimura Danz has turned into a woman. So as long as they see him Danzo, the eyes of those people will become very strange. It's like looking at some rare animal. This made Danzo unbearable, so he simply turned into someone else. That way no one would recognize him. In Hokage's office, Nara Shurjo was left behind by Sarutobi Hiruzen. Lugio, the village will hold a joint Chunin exam in a few months, and I want you to be in charge of coordinating it. Sarutobi Hiruzen asked Nara to stay because he wanted to chat with him about the Chunin exam in a few months. This time the Chunin exam is not only attended by some small ninja villages in the surrounding area. It has been confirmed that they will come, as well as Sunagakure, who signed an alliance agreement with them. When the time comes for the last exam, even 4th Kazekage will be there in person. So, Sarutobi Hiruzen also attaches great importance to this Chunin exam. He is worried about handing over this matter to other people. But if this person is Nara Shikaku, Sarutobi Hiruzen is a million reassuring. Okay, Fire Lord Shadow, I will start preparing in the next few days, and I will definitely ensure the safety of the village by then. Nara Shikahisa said, safety is important, but it is also necessary to show the aura of our Konoha. Then the daimyo will send people to watch the ceremony. You know, Lugio, the village has spent a lot of money over the years. I have always been very nervous. If the daimyo cannot have enough confidence in Konoha, next year's funding may be reduced again. Sarutobi Hiruzen is not worried about the village. After all, the ones who come this time are either the dead ninja village or San Shinobi, the weakest village among the 5 major countries. He is more concerned about whether this Chunin test can demonstrate their Konoha strength, to attract more wealthy businessmen to invest in Konoha, and give them more high-value tasks 5.2 in Konoha. At the same time, it would be even better if the daimyo of the Land of Fire could be satisfied. After all, Ninja Zaishin is about to eat. Who is the richest in the Land of Fire? Of course, it's a big name. The funds allocated by the Daming Mansion alone are enough to support a large number of ninjas every year. In the past 2 years, too many things happened because of Konoha. So much so that Daming Prefecture has lowered its annual funding twice in a row. If it continues to be reduced like this, the living standards of the ninjas of their Sarutobi clan should be lowered. By the time, how else does Sarutobi Hiruzen profit for his family's ninjas? After listening to what Sarutobi Hiruzen said, Nara Shikajiu just nodded, saying that he would definitely satisfy those wealthy businessmen and people from the Daimyo Prefecture. As for the funding issue that Sarutobi Hiruzen heard, Nara Shurjo is a smart person. Of course, he knew that the funds given by the Daming Mansion each year were far more than those. As for where did the rest of the funds go? You don't need to ask, and you don't need to know. Just understand it in your heart. After all, their Nara clan is on good terms with the Sarutobi clan. To put it bluntly, they are also vested interests. It's just that the benefits obtained are not as much as those of the Sarutobi family. Chapter 82, Naruto's Complaint. Malingering? Girlfriend party of Yuhi Hong's family. First update. Okay, today's patrol is over here. You can go back and rest. Yeah, you stay. It was getting late, and the task of Umbu's 7th class was also completed. After disbanding the team, Yuzuki Yugao left Yagami Ryosuke behind. Go change your clothes first. Your red sister is clear tonight. Yuzuki Shien said. Then I'll go home and tell you. Yagami Ryosuke said. Mao Yushien nodded and followed the two of them back to Haka. Evening, Ryosuke, who changed his clothes and went out, unexpectedly met Naruto and the others who had just finished their mission on the road. Naruto, Sasuke, what's wrong with you? He looked at the two people who were soaked in water and asked curiously. Hey, don't ignore me every time. The little Sakura on the side shouted with dissatisfaction on her hips. Ah, by the way, there's little Sakura too. What's wrong with you guys? Yagami Ryosuke laughed, and the perfunctory appearance made little Sakura very dissatisfied. But Night God Ryosuke is not Naruto, the licking dog. No matter how dissatisfied she is, it will not affect the Night God Ryosuke. It's not Mr. Kakashi, Ryosuke. You don't know, what we have been doing these 2 days are some stupid tasks. As soon as Naruto heard the question from Ryosuke, the Night God, he immediately turned on the complaint mode. He first complained about Kakashi's irresponsibility. They said they were busy there, but Kakashi just watched and didn't help. Then I complained about the tasks I received. For the past 2 or 3 days, they have to accept at least 2 D-level missions every day. And it's not weeding or cleaning or something. That's not what a ninja should do. This is completely different from the life of Genin that Naruto imagined. He thought he was going to go out of the village to perform those difficult tasks soon. 0-1 the result. That's it. We just finished a mission to clean up river trash. Sasuke couldn't bear Naruto's endless chatter, but couldn't get to the point. So he pulled Naruto and answered the question Ryosuke just asked. So that's the case. Then you really worked hard. Yagami Ryosuke patted the shoulders of both of them sympathetically. What? And little Sakura? Kiki. It's not that men and women give or take each other. So forget it. Ryosuke, what kind of missions are you performing in Umbu? Isn't it particularly exciting? At this moment, Naruto suddenly asked with bright eyes. This silly boy, who doesn't understand secret missions, can't tell outsiders at all. But Naruto, it is normal not to know these common sense. After all, no one told him. It's okay. I left the village yesterday to perform a mission, and the day before yesterday, in fact, I only left the village twice. Today, it's just patrolling the village. Yagami Ryosuke didn't go into details, just said briefly. But even so, it still makes Naruto envious. You'll be fine. You've already left the village to perform missions, unlike us, who are still on those broken missions of cleaning up rivers. Naruto pouted, and that resentful expression made Night God Ryosuke almost get goosebumps. Okay. Go home and change your clothes, or else you won't be able to continue the task tomorrow if you catch a cold. Yagami Ryosuke looked at the sky, and it was getting late, and then sent the 3 of them home to change clothes quickly. But Naruto rolled his eyes when he heard his words, as if he had thought of some good idea. After Night God Ryosuke separated from them, Naruto secretly pulled Sasuke and little Sakura and said, I have a way so that we don't have to do those D-level missions tomorrow. Do you want to come together? Any solution? Sasuke looked at Naruto with a suspicious expression. The way Naruto came up with, to be honest, Sasuke was really worried. Naruto, tell me quickly, don't be a secret. When the little Sakura heard that she could not perform those troublesome and tiring D-level tasks, she hurriedly urged Naruto to speak quickly. My solution is to pretend to be sick, Naruto said triumphantly. As long as we say that we fell into the water today and caught a cold and got sick, then Mr. Kakashi won't let us continue to be those D-level characters. Is this a good way for you? Sasuke shook his head. Sure enough, he shouldn't expect any good solution from Naruto. Malingering? Isn't that a child's trick? Naruto, your method is too bad. Mr. Kakashi is not a fool. How could he fail to see that we are pretending to be sick? Little Sakura originally wanted to say that this method is good. You can try it. As a result, as soon as she heard Sasuke say this, she swallowed the words as soon as she reached her mouth, and then showed a dissatisfied expression, complaining that Naruto's method was too bad. Trust me, I can trick Kakashi-sensei. Seeing that both of them didn't believe him, Naruto said hastily, Forget it, I don't want to play sick games like a child. I'm going home. Sasuke, shook his head, then turned around and left. Sasuke, wait for me. Let's go home on the way. Let's go back together. Naruto. He looked at the road on the left, and then at Sasuke and little Sakura who were going to the right. I want to say that the little Sakura's house is not going that way, but I don't know if it's telepathy or something else. Just as he was about to speak, the little Sakura in front of him immediately turned around and glared at him viciously. Naruto quickly shut his mouth, not daring to speak. After waiting for a while, both Sasuke and little Sakura walked away, and Naruto said angrily, "What? You don't believe my way, huh? Just wait and see. You can go to work tomorrow, but I can rest at home. Time to regret you to death." Uchiha's house. Yagami Ryosuke knocked on the door. It was Anko who came to open the door for him. "Cut. It's you." When Anko saw that the person who came was Ryosuke, the night god, his face suddenly collapsed, as if he was not happy to see him. "Miss Anko, has she gained weight recently? It feels like your face is a little rounder than when we met last time." Yagami Ryosuke said with a smile. "Anko, she yelled frantically, "Night god Ryosuke. Say more. Where am I fat? Am I called fat? I am called plump, okay?" Yes. Yagami Ryosuke nodded again and again. "Sister Anko, you are plump, not fat. A friend of mine often says the same thing. I always feel like you were scolding me." Anko looked at him with a suspicious expression on his face. Obviously he was right, but he always felt weird. "By the way, who is that friend of yours?" Anko asked subconsciously. "Chai. Full name is Akimichi Chai." Night god Ryosuke ran away as soon as he finished speaking. As expected, there was a scream from Anko behind him, and then he ran after him like crazy to beat him. Yagami Ryosuke ran in front, and Anko chased after him. No matter how hard she chases, she can't catch up with Night god Ryosuke. At this moment, Shihahong also came out of the kitchen, and she also looked helpless when she saw the two people running around the room. I said, "Can you two not quarrel when you meet? Really? Were you enemies in your previous life?" Yuahong also couldn't figure out why these two guys would quarrel when they met. And the most incomprehensible thing for her was that Anko obviously lost every time he quarreled and would get mad by himself, but when they meet next time, they still can't help being provocative. What is this? The more you cook, the more you love to play? Yui Hong really convinced the two of them. "Sister Hong, help." At this time, the night god Ryosuke hurriedly ran behind Yui Hong, grabbed his waist, and hid behind Hong. "Smelly brat. Don't run away." Anko rolled up his sleeves, looking aggressive. Yagami Ryosuke, who was hiding behind Yui Hong, looked at her with a smile and hooked her fingers provocatively. "You come here." "Oh, I have a bad temper." Anko was about to rush forward angrily, but Shihahong quickly grabbed her. "Come on, both of you for a while," she said helplessly. Just then someone knocked on the door again. Yuhong hurriedly said to Anko, "Go and open the door. It should be Shien who has arrived." Anko glared at Yagami Ryosuke, then turned around reluctantly and opened the door. Kurinai Yuhi, who saw Anko open the door, also patted the back of Yagami Ryosuke's hand angrily. "Ryosuke, what are your hands doing?" She turned around and gave Yagami Ryosuke a look. There's so many styles that Ryosuke couldn't help being stunned for a moment. "Sister Hong, why do you feel that you are getting more and more beautiful?" Yagami Ryosuke said with a smile. "You're the one with the sweetest mouth." Yuha Hong patted him angrily and then said, "Calm down later. Don't always quarrel with Anko." Sister Hong sent a message. What a designated photo. Night God Ryosuke promised. "Come on, the credibility of what comes out of your mouth is really not high." It's not the first day for Kurinai Yuhi to know the night God Ryosuke. For this kid's style of running the train with his mouth full, he has long understood it clearly. Yagami Ryosuke laughed. "By the way, Miss Hong," Yishan Ryosuke suddenly asked, "apart from Anko and Shien, are there any other guests coming to your house tonight?" "Hinata will come later," Yuahong said while turning back to the kitchen. "Is Hinata coming too?" Yagami Ryosuke was a little surprised, but not surprised that Kurinai Yuhi and Hinata had such a good relationship so soon. "I was surprised, since Hinata is also coming. What about Inazuka Kiba and Aburame Shino from Class 8? Treated differently?" Yagami Ryosuke smiled. Of course he knew that Kurenai Yuhi would not treat his students differently. As for why only Hinata was invited, but not Inazuka Kiba and Aburame Shino, of course, it's because it's not convenient for men to join the dinner tonight. 137. As for Night God Ryosuke, that's different. In Yuahong's eyes, Yagami Ryosuke is no different from his younger brother, so naturally he doesn't mind. And Anko and Shien don't mind his joining either. After all, Night God Ryosuke has been acquainted with the three of them since he was 10 years old. Even more so with Yuzuki Shien. In short, Night God Ryosuke is an exception. Sister Shien, come and sit here in the living room. Anko and Shien come in, and Night God Ryosuke is facing Shien beckoning. Be careful. Shien, this brat is getting more and more irritating now. Anko still looked annoyed, obviously still angry at the Night God Ryosuke said that she was fat. But the conscience of heaven and earth, the reason why Night God Ryosuke said this is mainly to urge her to eat less sweets. Otherwise, after a few more years, she might really be as fat as a ball. Obviously, she is a very pretty girl, but thinking about how fat she will be in the future, Yagami Ryosuke couldn't help but want to persuade her to eat less sweets. But Anko's character, the more you don't let her eat, the more she wants to eat. I don't listen to it at all. So, Night God Ryosuke simply took another approach. Every time we meet, she says she is fatter than before. In this way, Anko will gradually control his diet subconsciously. Avoid the consequences of becoming a big fat man in the future. Are you two fighting again? Seeing Anko's expression, Yuzuki Shien knew that the two must have quarreled again just now. But don't look at the Night God Ryosuke and Anko will quarrel every time they meet, but in fact the relationship between the two is not very good. Quarreling is actually a sign of a good relationship. Otherwise, if the relationship is really not good enough, they have already quarreled a few times, and they have long since died of old age. It's not that this guy talks too much. Anko pouted and said, dissatisfied. Then he pulled Yuzuki Shien and began to criticize Ryosuke, the Night God. He also tried to encourage Yuzuki Shien to arrange more heavy tasks for Night God Ryosuke in the future, which is called Exercise and Exercise Night God Ryosuke. A few minutes later, Hinata also arrived. Night God Ryosuke went to open the door for her. Ryosuke, you're here too. Seeing the Night God Ryosuke who opened the door for him, Hinata couldn't help but his eyes lit up. Well, come on. Yagami Ryosuke nodded with a smile and beckoned her in. Chapter 83. Anko. Can't figure it out at all. Yuahong's return gift. Second update in the dining room. The lighting is soft. Everyone sat in a circle around the table, and there were all kinds of delicacies on the table. Your craftsmanship is getting better and better. If anyone marries you in the future, they will die of happiness. Anko, who kept picking up vegetables with chopsticks, kept his mouth full of food, and at the same time, he did not forget to praise Yuahong's craftsmanship. That's why it sounds so weird. Teacher Hong's dishes are really delicious. Hinata's small face also looked serious. Coupled with the high pile of food in the bowl in front of her, it seemed that her words were particularly convincing. I remembered. Did someone say before that when he grows up, he will marry Hong as his wife? Anko suddenly said with a smile. He glanced at Night God Ryosuke again and again, for fear that others would not know who she was referring to. What's the matter? Isn't it normal to want to marry a virtuous woman like Sister Hong? Yagami Ryosuke said with a calm face. Hey, your little girlfriend is still sitting next to you. You are so brave. Anko had a surprised expression. She didn't expect Night Ryosuke to admit it so generously. Are you really not afraid that your little girlfriend will be jealous? Hinata is not you, so you won't be jealous because of such a small thing. Yagami Ryosuke smiled and squeezed Hinata's little hand. Right, Hinata? Hinata couldn't help being a little embarrassed when Ryosuke, the Night God, held her little hand in front of everyone. But fortunately, after 2 years of training from the Night God Ryosuke, Hinata has changed a lot in her personality, although still gentle and considerate. But at least he won't be as timid and shy as before. If it was 2 years ago, Hinata would have fainted from embarrassment in a situation like this. Words now. At most, she was blushing up to her ears, and she was too shy to look at the eyes of the people around her. Not even close enough to faint. No way. Anko looked at Hinata, who was shy, and lowered her head in disbelief. And she couldn't help asking Hinata because she didn't understand. No, Hinata, why are you? Could it be that you still want your future husband to have other women outside? Kurenai Yui beside him couldn't help but glared at Anko. She always felt that the other women outside, in Anko's mouth, was referring to her. Although Kurenai Yui doesn't have that kind of thought towards Night God Ryosuke, she treats him more like her younger brother. But the meaning of Anko's words couldn't be more obvious. She's not a fool. Why can't she hear it? I don't mind. Hinata lowered her head and said in a low voice, Ryosuke is so good. It is inevitable that many girls will like him. I can't restrain him because of his liking for me. As long as he has me in his heart, I will be satisfied. Anko, she felt that her three views had been hid in some way. In fact, even Yuzuki Yuyin and Yuahong, who were just watching the excitement, looked at Hinata in surprise at this time. This young lady of the Hyuga clan is so generous? Is this the education of a big family? Duh, you are the eldest lady. Why does it feel like I'm going to post Night God Ryosuke? Anko and Yuahong couldn't understand. But Yuzuki Shiin showed a thoughtful look. She has seen part of the true strength of Night God Ryosuke. So she can probably understand how excellent the word excellent in Hinata's mouth is. If it is like this, it doesn't seem to be acceptable, does it? Yuzuki Shiin thought to herself. After all, the strong are the real rulers of this world. And like Ryosuke, the night god, who has such amazing strength at the age of 12, he will definitely be on top of the world in the future. For a man like this, there are more women around him or something. Thinking about it, there seems to be nothing wrong with it. That's reasonable. Moreover, Ryosuke said that Ino and I are his wings. We should let him spread his wings and fly higher and farther, instead of binding him firmly to the ground. Hinata suddenly looked at the night god Ryosuke beside him. His eyes were as gentle as water, full of love. This is a rare occasion for Hinata to muster up the courage to express her love for night god Ryosuke in front of so many people. This also moved night god Ryosuke very much. He held Hinata's little hand tightly, unwilling to let go again for the rest of his life. There is such a well-behaved, obedient, and sensible girlfriend. Night god Ryosuke felt that if he didn't cherish it, he would definitely be struck by lightning. No, Night god Ryosuke, are you a birdman? Why do you need so many wings? Finally, Yagami Ryosuke and Hinata are touching each other, and their eyes are expressing deep love. As a result, Anko suddenly ruined the atmosphere just now. Anko, are you allergic to romance? Yagami Ryosuke said angrily. I don't even call my sister anymore. You call this romantic? Are you sure it's not an excuse for the scumbag to be fickle? Anko sneered, as if his old lady had seen through everything. Take care of yourself. Eat so much. Be careful that you will become a big fat man, and no one will want you. Smelly brat. You say it again. Sorry, I never repeat what I said. And you heard it clearly. Don't pretend you didn't hear it. Smelly brat. My old lady beat you to death. Anko jumped up directly from his seat and flung his teeth and claws at Ryosuke, the night god. Night god Ryosuke dodged in an instant, and at the same time reached out to grab Anko's hand, and with a twist, she was suppressed under him. You let me go. Anko struggled a few times, and was surprised to find that he couldn't break free. She's a special genin anyway, and Yagami Ryosuke is just a genin who just graduated from ninja school. How could he be subdued by the opponent so easily? Am I drunk? Anko is a little self-doubting, but she obviously didn't drink alcohol. You wanted to let go, unless you called Dad. Yagami Ryosuke said with a smile. He also reached out and patted Anko. Hey, where are you going, stinky brat? You still want my old lady to call you daddy? You're dreaming. Anko struggled even harder, still cursing and unconvinced. Okay, can you two calm down a bit? Yu Hong patted his forehead, helplessly looking at the two who were making a fuss again. But Seeing that night god Ryosuke subdued Anko so easily, she was actually quite surprised. Just the physical ability shown by Night God Ryosuke is enough to be comparable to some special genin. No wonder Lord Hokage valued him so much and made an exception to let him join Umbu as a genin. Really? Or Hokage-sama's sharp eyesight. Sister Hong, Anko can't be dealt with, she's just itchy. As Yagami Ryosuke said, he couldn't help but slapped him a few times. Even though Anko has a thick skin, he can't take it anymore at this time. After all, it is shameless for her to be bullied by Night God Ryosuke in front of her two good sisters. Woo, you bully me. Hinata, look, your boyfriend bullies me. Anko faked crying while complaining to Hinata. However, Hinata just looked at her and said in a low voice, Miss Anko, you can't beat Ryosuke, which directly made Anko feel depressed. What the hell? Yagami Ryosuke, what kind of ecstasy soup did this kid, Ryosuke, pour into this young lady of the Hyuga family? First of all, the previous words made Anko wonder if there was something wrong with his ears. But now he ignored the fact that he was being bullied by Night God Ryosuke, and even helped Night God Ryosuke to speak. All right, they are indeed a relationship between boyfriend and girlfriend. If you don't speak for your boyfriend, is it possible to help her? But it also depends on the situation. In the current situation, she, Mitarashi Anko, is clearly at a disadvantage. Have you been taken advantage of? Can't you see you are so blind? Shouting or not? If not, you can stay here all the time. Yagami Ryosuke said with a smile. Sun Yin. Anko looked at Yugao Yuzuki with a mournful face. And Yuzuki Shien cast a helpless look. Woo woo woo. Even Shien doesn't love me anymore. Anko felt bitter. Oh, you don't want to die, do you? She can only turn to the last person who can help her. Anko, were you throwing the towel? Ryosuke won't really let you call him daddy. Sunset Red said. Group no. Why are you all on this brat's side? I am so angry. Anko, are you sure you don't beg for mercy? Think about it. If you beat me to death without begging for mercy, you'll have to sit on me as a stool tonight. Yagami Ryosuke said with a smile. When Anko heard this, he thought that this was the reason. She doesn't want to be treated as a stool all the time, and it's uncomfortable to lie on the ground. Okay, I admit defeat, I was wrong. Anko finally gave in. King of Mouth escaped this strong persuasive power, made her successfully persuaded. And Yagami Ryosuke didn't really ask her to call her dad. That was just a joke. Letting go of Anko, Yagami Ryosuke saw that the woman was still unconvinced, so he showed his right hand. Anko couldn't help but blush when he saw it, and hurried back to his seat. After 9 o'clock in the evening, Hinata had to go home early because of family rules, so Yagami Ryosuke sent her home to rest first. After sending Hinata to the land of the Hyuga tribe, Night God Ryosuke turned back to Yuehong's house again. As soon as he entered the door, he saw Anko lying on the ground with no image, holding a wine bottle in his hand, muttering something like kill you in a daze. Night God Ryosuke seems to have heard his own name. This woman is skinny again. On the other hand, although Yuzuki Shien drank a few cups, she was only slightly tipsy, unlike Anko, who was completely drunk. Shien, you and Anko don't go back tonight, stay with me. 17 Shia Hong came down from upstairs, holding 2 sets of pajamas in her hand. She handed Yuzuki Shien one of the blue sets, and another set of cream yellow, which Anko used to wear when he came to live in her house. Let me do it. Shien helped Anko up on the ground, and took another set of pajamas from Hong's hand. Red, you can rest for a while. I'll help Anko upstairs to the room first. As Shien said, she directly carried Anko on her shoulders. It was fine like carrying a sack. Anko, who was drunk, muttered a few words, and then was carried upstairs by Shien. Ryosuke, do you want to go back tonight? Or stay with me for one night? Kurenai Yuhi looked at Ryosuke, who was at the side, and asked, Sister Hong, this is for you. Happy birthday. Yagami Ryosuke suddenly took out a beautifully packaged box from behind, handed it to Yuehong, and said happy birthday, which made Yuehong look at him in surprise. How did you, know that today is my birthday? Anko and the others told you. Yuehong accepted the gift, thinking that Anko and Shien told Yagami Ryosuke about this. No, I found out about your birthday, Miss Hong, from Hinata, and found out that it's today, Yagami Ryosuke said. In fact, Yua Hong rarely celebrates birthdays. Since her father's death, she hasn't celebrated in any serious way. Last year and the year before her birthday, she spent them outside performing tasks. There is nothing to say. This year, she happened to be resting at home, so she invited Anko and Shien, two good sisters, plus Night God Ryosuke and the new student Hinata. But Yua Hong didn't say that tonight was to celebrate her birthday, and both Shien and Anko knew her temper, so they didn't give any gifts or anything like that. Did not expect Yagami Ryosuke, actually found out about her birthday, and even prepared such a gift for her in advance. Ryosuke, thank you. Shia Hong was very moved in her heart. Holding the gift in both hands, she suddenly opened her arms and hugged Night God Ryosuke. This is the best gift I've received this year, she whispered in the ear of Night God Ryosuke. Then Yagami Ryosuke suddenly felt a cool touch from his mouth, and it was instant when he touched it. Before he could react, Shia Hong smiled and let him go. Don't think too much, it's just a gift. Yagami Ryosuke blinked, and then said something that made Kurinai Yuhi dumbfounded. Sister Hong, can I give you gifts every day from now on? Chapter 84. Kakuzu's Talent Entry. Awesome, beat the workers. Third update late at night in the room. Lying on the bed, Ryosuke couldn't fall asleep, so he simply got up and took out a drop of blood sample collected earlier from the system's biopheromone warehouse. Kakuzu, don't come with any weird talent entries, Yishan Ryosuke murmured silently in his heart, while instructing the system to convert this drop of blood in his hand into a talent entry. Ding! Transformation succeeded. Congratulations to host for getting the talent entry. Spirit of a worker, purple. Beat the soul of the worker. Yagami Ryosuke thought that Kakuzu would transform into a strange talent entry like the man who threw a shuriken 800 miles away, but he really didn't connect Kakuzu with the workers. But think about it. Isn't Kakuzu just a worker from the Akatsuki organization? Conan is his boss, and this boss is very black-hearted. He doesn't pay a penny of wages and spends all the money earned by the employees. Black. Too dark. Just thinking about it makes me want to wipe a few tears for our workers. Kakuzu is miserable. Look at the attributes of this entry. Night God Ryosuke is not sure whether this obviously playful entry will work. But anyway, it is also a purple talent entry. Even if it doesn't work, it's good to keep it for the time being and see if there are too many talent entries of this kind, and whether the second update of the system can be activated. Spirit of migrant workers, purple. Migrant workers. Soul of migrant workers. Migrant workers are the master. We were part-time, I am proud. We part-time work, we are proud. Come on. Work hard. Your strength is all-round plus 300% in the working state. The harvest of your work is plus 300%. Comes with the aura of tirelessness. Indefatigable halo. You will never feel tired. Even if you work overtime for 24 consecutive hours, you will still be energized. Hiss. Night God Ryosuke looked at the attributes of this talent entry and couldn't help but gasped. FK. This attribute is amazing. In the working state, the strength increases by 300% in all directions, and the payoff from work has increased by 300%. The last indefatigable Halo 930 seems to be useless for Night God Ryosuke, but if you encounter the situation where you need to stay awake for a long time, Halos can definitely come in handy. Certainly, the most important thing is the previous two attributes. So awesome. Needless to say, all-round strength improvement. It has already appeared in the Golden Talent entry, Son of Destiny, before. However, Son of Destiny increased by 500%, which is 200% more. But this talent entry for beating the soul of a worker is definitely the best of the best among the purple entries. This is the first time that Night God Ryosuke has seen such a purple talent entry with such good attributes. Even the white-eyed princess entry on Hinata. In the eyes of Ryosuke, the Night God everything is worse. Haiden's immortal body entry. Although Night God Ryosuke has a relative immortal body, but if the hard power is not enough, no matter how immortal it can't beat it. In contrast, Night God Ryosuke still prefers this kind of entry attribute that improves all-round strength. And what does Omni mean? It means the current ability of Night God Ryosuke, as well as his own physical quality. It's all included. Thinking about it this way, did you find that the attribute of this entry is very variable? But one problem is that this entry can only be activated when Night God Ryosuke is working. So what does it mean to be in working condition? What is his occupation, Umbu? No. Night God Ryosuke's profession is a ninja. Ninja itself is a profession, just like waiters, store owners, and samurai. It is a collective term for a certain type of people. And under what circumstances would a ninja be considered working? Of course, it's a mission. That is to say, as long as the Night God Ryosuke is in the process of performing the task, then it is all counted as he is in the working state. It's so easy. After all, as long as they leave the village, these ninjas are basically in the process of performing tasks. In other words, with this 300% all-round strength bonus, Night God Ryosuke can almost make it a permanent state. It does not count when resting in the village, but it was useless at the time, so it doesn't matter. Kakuzu, I wrongly blamed you before. You are really a good person. Night God Ryosuke suddenly feels guilty. Did he hit too hard before? Kakuzu sent him such a good talent entry, and he even broke his 2 hearts. Fortunately, Kakuzu was rescued by Kakuzu at that time. Otherwise, if the Night God Ryosuke accidentally killed him, he would have to set up a tombstone for Kakuzu at this moment, with the character of Good Guy written on it in memory of our wonderful man, Mr. Kakuzu. His selfless dedication is not only aimed at Shao organization. Even Ryosuke, the Konoha shinobi, deeply felt his great personality. In the wilderness, Kakuzu, who was on his way, shuddered when he suddenly didn't come. Strange, the weather is not cold. Kakuzu tightened the windbreaker on his body, thinking. In a frame behind him, a head was snoring with its eyes closed, sleeping very sweetly. When Kakuzu heard Haiden snoring, he also shook the frame a few times angrily. In the end, this guy slept worse than a pig. Didn't wake up at all. What the hell did I, Kakuzu, owe you something in my previous life? Kakuzu muttered cursingly, but still carry Haiden's head and continue walking. Next day, it was just dawn. In the room, Ryosuke, who had only slept for 2 or 3 hours in bed, woke up. He can't sleep. The mental state is great. No sleepiness at all. The effect of this indefatigable aura is too strong. It's really annoying. I won't enjoy the fun of sleeping in the future. Night God Ryosuke muttered, but it was not seen that he really removed this talent entry. Get up, brush your teeth, and wash your face. After the operation was completed, Yagami Ryosuke disappeared instantly. Training ground number 4. Night God Ryosuke hand seal. Multiple shadow clone technique. Bang bang bang. A group of 500 or 600 shadow clone appeared around him. Go, continue to practice. Night God Ryosuke commanded these shadow clone. The main body and attachment are too strange. That is, less practice every time. How about you? Shadow clone. You complained every sentence. But complaints are complaints. But they still dispersed obediently, leaving the number 4 training ground to practice around. Yagami Ryosuke didn't linger here either. After letting Shadow Clone start practicing, he went back directly. It was more than 8 o'clock in the morning. Yua Hong got up. Morning, Miss Hong. Yagami Ryosuke turned around and greeted Kurini Yuhi with a smile. Morning, Ryosuke. Kurini Yuhi smiled slightly. Why are you up so early? Yeah, I can't sleep anymore. I'm used to it, Yagami Ryosuke said. Young people are in a good state of mind, unlike your sister Hong, who is old. No way, Sister Hong, you're still very young. I'm too energetic. It's actually not good. After the two chatted for a while, Shia Hong went to the kitchen to prepare breakfast. After a while, Yuzuki Shien also got up. Sister Shien, good morning. Night God Ryosuke greeted her with a smile. Morning. Did you get up early? Yuzuki Shien came over and sat down beside him and asked, Well, did you wake up Miss Shien? Night God Ryosuke asked. Maiwa Shien shook her head and said, That's not true. In fact, I woke up in the middle, but then I fell asleep again. I drank a little too much yesterday, but luckily I didn't sleep for too long. At this time, Yuha Hong in the kitchen also came out with 2 simple breakfasts. Ryosuke, Shien, it's time to eat, she shouted. As for Anko, feel sorry. That crazy woman was so drunk last night that she won't wake up until this afternoon. After having breakfast at Kurinai Yuhi's house, Yagami Ryosuke and Yuzuki Shien left first. Umbu still has to go to work today. Unlike Kurinai Yuhi and Anko, they are free ninjas. Although Yuhong still has to lead the squad, the Genin team generally doesn't go out on missions too early. It doesn't matter if you go after 9 o'clock. And Anko, she is usually very empty. Nothing happened today. She slept all day and no one cared about her. 9 a.m. The first task of Class 7 of Umbu started today. Still on patrol. But today I am patrolling outside the village. I will not come back at noon, and I will not return to the village until the evening. Umbu's usual job is not only to inspect the village, but also to inspect some places around the village, especially some nearby hills. If you don't visit after a while, it may have become a bandit camp. Although the Land of Fire is rich and prosperous, there are quite a lot of bandit Fei Wong, even though Konoha has wiped out many such bandits and bandits. But this thing is like a leek. One crop after another is cut, and there is no way to finish it. On a hill, from a distance, I saw cooking smoke floating over there. On a few trees, members of Umbu's 7th class stood on the branches, looking at the smoke in the distance. I remember that the 3rd squad in this place just cleared a bandit camp half a month ago. There's another camp so soon. Heifong couldn't help complaining. Who are you coming? Yuzuki Shien looked at the 4 of them and asked. Let Yue come. Yue do a good job. Tengu said with a smile. Night God Ryosuke also nodded and then cast the body flicker technique and swept towards the mountain in front of him in an instant. After a while, Night God Ryosuke found this bandit camp. The camp is pretty rough. There were some tents, and a wooden house was built in the middle. A group of bandits and bandits were lighting a fire and cooking, and some women with dull eyes were locked in several wooden cages next to them. Yagami Ryosuke frowned slightly, then split 2 Shadow Clone, pointing to those cages. Let Shadow Clone go to rescue people first. The 2 Shadow Clones act instantly. The bandits who were making a fire and cooking didn't notice them at all. The cage is opened. Several women inside. He just raised his head and glanced, not showing any anger at all. Yagami Ryosuke saw it and sighed secretly. This situation is not uncommon among the Big 5 and the small countries. Ordinary people are always the most vulnerable in this world. The situation in the Nation of Fire is actually a little bit better, like some other small countries. It's even more messy. Sometimes these bandits and bandits would even gather a large group of people and rush directly into some towns. Simply lawless. Brush. Brush. 2 Shadow Clone rescued the imprisoned women. Night God Ryosuke saw that they had succeeded, so he didn't hide his figure anymore and walked out of the dark directly. Who? Because the Night God Ryosuke usually does not equip the item Invisible. So at this moment, the group of bandits and bandits on the opposite side found him all at once. 20 or 30 bandits took up weapons and surrounded them. And the Night God Ryosuke saw it, drew out the ninja sword directly, and instantly remembered that the 4 fields on the opposite side were cut in half. Not good. It's Konoha's ninja. These bandits and bandits were taken aback and immediately scattered like birds and beasts. But how could Night God Ryosuke let them run away? You scumbags are not worthy of letting me use ninjutsu. Night God Ryosuke chased him up. 2 or 3 bandits can be killed in a second. These bandits and bandits didn't even get out of the camp, so they were all killed by Night God Ryosuke. There were corpses all over the ground, and the smell of blood wafted into the air. At this time, Yuzuki Shien and the others also came over. Burn it, or will easily cause plague. Yuzuki Shien glanced at the corpses on the ground and said coldly, "Let me do it." Tengu stepped forward, made seals with both hands, released a fire style, and set the entire camp on fire. Flames blazed, burning those bodies and the entire bandit camp to ashes. After waiting almost, Black Fong cast a water style to extinguish the fire. Chapter 85. Airborne Squad Leader. Tianzong. Night God Ryosuke, Eiswood style. Fourth more, after sending the rescued women home, Night God Ryosuke and the Umbu 7th Squad also continued to patrol the surrounding area. There was no second one found in the bandit camp. However, I met a few wandering ninjas, but after seeing their Konoha Umbu costumes, these wandering ninjas were also frightened and accepted their interrogation honestly. I dare not resist at all. Wandering ninjas like this generally have learned simple chakra refining techniques, and then some simple skills such as shuriken throwing. There are even wandering ninjas who don't even know the three-body technique. To put it bluntly, some wandering ninjas are actually warriors who can refine chakra. It's better if you are in the sky. You'll be able to use 2C level evasion techniques. But most of them don't learn very well. What Night God Ryosuke and the others have to beware of are those wandering ninjas disguised as enemy ninjas. These wandering ninjas are, to put it bluntly, spies. They look like wandering ninjas, but they are actually ninjas from the 5 major countries in disguise. After a day of patrolling, it will soon be time to get off work. Umbu's 7th Squad returned to the village and disbanded. Each went back to each house. In the evening, Yagami Ryosuke went out on a date with Yi after dinner. Hinata can't come out today. The Hyuga clan has too many rules. If it weren't for the face of Jinin who led the team yesterday, Kurenai Yuhi, the Hyuga clan would not allow Hinata to come home so late. This is the trouble for the big family. There are many rules and smelly. Although the Yamanaka family is also a Konoha family, it is still incomparable with the Hyuga family. So there are not so many rules. After shopping with Ino, having some desserts, and buying some gadgets, Yagami Ryosuke sent her back home before 9 o'clock. Ryosuke, good night. Ino waved at the Night God Ryosuke, and then went home happily. When Yagami Ryosuke left, he looked back and saw a middle-aged man with an ugly face on the second floor looking at him. He smiled at each other, but the other party turned his head and closed the window directly. That's right. That middle-aged man with an ugly face is none other than Ino's father, Yamanaka. For the next few days, the village was peaceful. In addition to the fact that the 8 trigrams news about Elder Danzo is still circulating in the village, it has become the content of many people's gossip. Nothing special happened. Yishun Ryosuke also goes to and from get off work every day, and then uses up the number of conversions on time. Before that, he transformed Kakuzu into such a good purple talent entry as Spirit of a Worker, and then transformed Danzo's talent entry the next day under his expectant gaze. In the end, he got a rubbish talent entry of first-generation Megakage. The attribute is that the more blamed you are, the higher the growth rate of chakra. Then there's also a back the pot man, Halo. Let Night God Ryosuke very speechless. First of all, he has no shortage of chakra. Secondly, he likes to take the blame. So, this talent entry is destined to be broken down by him in the future. But for now, Night God Ryosuke is still going to keep it. The main reason is to see if the system will update when the number of entries increases. The other side, in the past few days, Danzo's life can be said to be quite miserable. Not only because the fact that he turned into a woman was spread throughout the village and became the laughingstock of everyone. What's more, he has been particularly unlucky these days. How unlucky is it? Just walk a few steps, and you will step on all kinds of weird things, and you can eat half a worm after a meal. And once he goes out, he will often encounter passers-by quarreling, and then it will affect him accidentally. There are often 2 people over there who are arguing, and they start spitting at each other after arguing. Then Danzo passed by and was spit out several times for no reason. Not too many things like this. Even birds would shit on his head as they flew by. Danzo thinks he is under some kind of curse. Otherwise, how could I be more and more unlucky? He was too scared to go out. I shut myself in a room every day, hoping that Orochimaru's plan will start soon, and kill the BD Sir Toby Hiruzen quickly, so that he can sit on the position of Hokage. Yes, Danzo is like this, but he's still fantasizing that he can sit on the Hokage position after the death of Sarutobi Hiruzen. I don't know where his self-confidence comes from. Today is the 15th day since Yagami Ryosuke joined Umbu. That is half a month. In half a month, Yishin Ryosuke was completely familiar with Umbu's working mode. It has already transformed from a rookie to a veteran. The 7th class training ground. Today, Class 7 doesn't have any tasks, so everyone is practicing in the training ground. Night God Ryosuke is also holding a ninja sword and practicing swordsmanship. Recently, his swordsmanship has improved, and his skills have become more proficient. This is also thanks to the fact that Uzuki Shien often practiced with him and gave him moves. Originally, Ryosuke's swordsmanship is more based on his strong physical fitness. In terms of skills, as he said at the beginning, it can only be regarded as average. But now the words, even with the same physical fitness, Night God Ryosuke's swordsmanship has not lost to any special Jonin who is good at swordsmanship. At least in the duel with Uzuki Shien. Night God Ryosuke has been able to draw with her with swordsmanship alone. This made Uzuki Shien very depressed. She has practiced swordsmanship for so many years to reach this level. As a result, Yishin Ryosuke's swordsmanship foundation was very average at the beginning, but after only half a month of practice, he was already comparable to her. Uzuki Shien also once again realized the gap between people. Sometimes it is even bigger than the difference between people and pigs. Brush. At this time, Uzuki, wearing an Umbu mask, suddenly appeared on the training ground. "Come and assemble," she shouted. "Captain, do you have a mission?" Tingo hurried over and asked. "No, the team leader arranged by the above has arrived, and I will take you there to get to know each other." Uzuki Shien said. "Squad leader? Did you come by airborne?" Since Uzuki Shien said that he knew him, it was obvious that they didn't know that person. And in the second team, there was no one they didn't know. They can only come by airborne. "Stop talking nonsense. Come with me." Uzuki Shien glanced at Tengu and immediately brought a group of people from Class 7 to the assembly point. Soon, several people from the 7th class arrived at the assembly point. At this time, the 4 classes of their second team are almost here. After waiting for a while, 2 ninjas wearing Umbu uniforms came from not far away. One of them was Umbu's deputy director, and the other was probably the new captain of the second team. Standing in the crowd, Night God Ryosuke also looked at the team leader curiously. The other party wears a mask and cannot see his face. But through the eyes of the mask, a pair of slightly clear eyes can be seen. Young? Yagami Ryosuke thought to himself. At this time, the deputy minister in front also introduced their new team leader to the members of their second team. This is a member of the guard directly under Mr. Hokage, codenamed Tian. From now on, he will be the captain of your second team. Everyone looked at Tianzong in silence, but I thought in my heart that I should be able to join Lord Hokage's direct escort team. At least the strength of an elite Jonin cannot escape. In the crowd, when they heard the code name of the new captain of the deputy minister's introduction office, Yi Shunliang couldn't help but shine. "Tenzo, isn't that Yamato?" "What style?" Night God Ryosuke stared at the masked man, never expecting that their new team leader would be Yamato, the owner of Wood Style. It is said that Senju Hashirama's Wood Style conquers the world, and Yamato's Wood Style can do greening. But that's because Yamato doesn't have a sage body, and he can't integrate Yongdun into Wood Style, making Wood Style full of vitality. Why is Senju Hashirama's Wood Style so strong? In fact, it is not Wood Style that is strong, but Senju Hashirama. For this, just look at Yamato. In fact, Yamato's Wood Style is what a real Wood Style should look like. Senju Hashirama that's over the mark. At this time, Night God Ryosuke was thinking if he transformed a talent entry from Yamato, would it have something to do with escape? 0 looking for flowers. The probability is very high. After all, almost all the specials on Yamato are given by Wood Style. It doesn't matter if it's a spoof stock like greening, or the source of his own strength. They're all closely related to Wood Style. Therefore, if you can get a copy of the biological pheromone from Yamato, then the transformed talent entry will almost certainly come with a Wood Style. Certainly, Included must be the Yamato version of Wood Style. But it's okay. Night God Ryosuke can upgrade entries. Not to mention, Yamato doesn't have a sage body, but Yagami Ryosuke does. Although his sage body is only a primary sage body, it is incomparable with Senju Hashirama's advanced sage body. But when it is added to the Wood Style, the power of the Wood Style is 2 or 3 times greater than that of Yamato, right? Plus various other entries on him. At that time, it will be easy to use the power not inferior to Senju Hashirama. How about upgrading the entry transformed from Yamato? Is it possible to overtake Senju Hashirama, the founder of Wood Style? The deputy minister left after introducing Tianzong. Handed over to Tianzong, the new team leader. And Tianzong also explained some of his arrangements after becoming the team leader. In fact, he continued to use the same set of Hyuga before. I don't usually take care of them. I just need to be on call when there are tasks, and I can't fish in troubled waters. After saying a few words, Tianzong let everyone disperse. Yishin Ryosuke was still thinking about how to get a piece of biopheromone from Tianzong, and then saw Tianzong walking towards their 7th class on his own initiative. Captain Tianzong. A few people in the 7th class quickly shut up. They were still discussing the quality of the new team leader just now. The big-mouthed Tengu even doubted whether the opponent was able to lead their second team well. As a result, people actually came over. Scared them, he thought he had heard what he was discussing in a low voice. Your name is Yue, right? I heard Master Hokage mentioned you. Master Hokage has always been very optimistic about you. Tenzo came over and went directly to Night God Ryosuke. This made Black Fong and the others secretly heave a sigh of relief. It's not good to come to Xingshi to inquire about the crime. But this kid Yue really has a lot of faces. Even a new team leader had to take the initiative to come over and have a chat with him. Not like them, completely ignored. Captain Tianzong used to be a member of the guard team directly under the 3rd generation. Night God Ryosuke also asked. That's right. I was actually a member of Umbu before, but I haven't been to the headquarters of one of my much. Tianzong said. As Hokage's guard, the usual job is to follow Hokage and protect his safety. There are no other tasks. And get a salary every month. In terms of the nature of the work, it is much easier than ordinary Umbu like them. The key is to get a lot of money. But there are also criteria for wanting to join the guard. This mainly depends on how the Hokage is determined in each period. For example, during the 4th-generation project period, the requirements for strength were relatively loose. But the 3rd-generation project, which came to power again, has strict requirements on the strength of the escort team. Must be elite genin. This immediately eliminated 99% of the ninjas in Konoha. However, this rule actually varies from person to person. For example, Tianzong in front of me. When he joined the Guardians, he was not yet elite genin. But because he owns Wood Style, he made an exception and let him join. Captain Tianzong, I wonder if I could fight with you? Night God Ryosuke said suddenly. What? Tianzong was stunned for a moment. He had just come to say hello to this commoner genius that Master Hokage valued. Unexpectedly, Night God Ryosuke came up and said that he would fight him. Is this a new meeting ceremony? Chapter 86. Night God Ryosuke versus Tianzong. Flying Thunder God technique shows its power. Please customize. It's nothing. I just want to see how far I am from the legionin like you, Captain Tianzong. Night God Ryosuke spoke. Certainly. In fact, it was to get the biological pheromone from Tianzong's body, so as to transform the talent entry. Well, that's fine. Tianzong thought for a while, and it happened that he was also very curious about this civilian genius that Master Hokage valued, just to try the opponent's current strength. I heard that the other party has also awakened some special physical blood inheritance limit. Don't know how it compares with your own Wood Style? Tianzong is also looking forward to it. Certainly. He never thought that he would lose to Night God Ryosuke. More just want to give pointers to this junior. After all, he is an elite genin. Even though Night God Ryosuke is not a pure genin, but his strength is extremely strong. So he is a special genin, right? There is an official genin in between. It is impossible to lose, but you can't win too fast, Otherwise, it will easily damage the self-confidence of young people. Tianzong thought in his heart that when the fight broke out later, he didn't have to use all his strength to try the level of the ordinary genius Ryosuke, the night god. Wait until it's almost done, and then show your real strength to defeat it. Then give pointers and encourage him a few words. On the training ground, the rest of Umbu's 7th class retreated to the edge. You say, how long can Yeyue last in the hands of this new team leader? Black Fong looked at Tengu and Shadow beside him and asked them, at least 10 minutes. Yeyue's strength is very strong. Tengu looked confident in Night God Ryosuke from August 13th. 5 minutes or so. Shadow thought for a while and gave a relatively well-behaved answer. Although the new team leader does not know the specific strength, he must be a powerful elite genin. With such strength, if he made a serious move, Year might not be able to last for 2 or 3 minutes. But considering that the other party should not be so serious when they come up. So Shadow guessed an answer for 5 minutes. No, Shadow, what do you mean? Do you look down on Yeyue? When Tingo heard that the time given by the Shadow was less than half of his own, he was immediately unhappy. Yeye is a genius who can defeat me. She can last at least 10 minutes. 5 minutes is too much to look down on Yeyue. Shadow glanced at him lightly, but didn't speak. In fact, he was thinking in his heart that the end point of this guy, Tingu's words, was that Yeyue once defeated him today. If even Yeyue could only support the new team leader for about 5 minutes, then the strength is not as good as Yeyue's Tengu. Isn't it hard to last a minute? That looks like he has a lot of food. But Shadow didn't say what was in his heart. He just glanced at Tengu and then silently continued to observe the situation on the field. The other side, Yuzuki Shin listened to the three of them talking about how long Yagami Ryosuke could last in Tianzong's hands, and couldn't help but feel a strange feeling in her heart. These guys really don't know the strength of Night God Ryosuke. 10 minutes, 5 minutes? The reverse is more or less the case. No, based on Yuzuki Shiin's understanding of the Night God Ryosuke, if it is really a life-and-death fight, the new Captain Tianzong may not be able to last even a minute. A direct face-to-face meeting will be given in seconds. But why did Ryosuke fight this new squad leader? Yuzuki Shiin was a little confused. As for what Night God Ryosuke said just now, want to see the gap between himself and Elite Genin? Others would believe this, but Mao Yuxian didn't believe a word of it. That's why she couldn't understand the operation of Night God Ryosuke. Is there anything special about this new squad leader? Yuzuki Shiin guessed in her heart. Yue, let's start. You make the first move. Tenzo looked at Ryosuke, the Night God opposite, and said, he is elite Genin strength after all. Fighting against a Genin, there is no reason to take the first shot. That was too bullying. Captain Tianzong, then I'm going. Yagami Ryosuke drew out the ninja sword at his waist and then disappeared in place in an instant. So fast. Tenzo looked at the speed of Night God Ryosuke with some surprise. At least in terms of speed, Night God Ryosuke's performance is no worse than any official Genin. This speed made Tianzong a little more serious. Next second, the two quickly played against each other on the court. Neither of the two sides used ninjutsu, but fought against each other with pure physical skills. The speed of the fight between the two was so fast that even Hei Fong outside the field couldn't see some details of the guest species clearly. No way. Yue's strength has improved compared to last time. Tengu couldn't help but be surprised when he saw Yagami Ryosuke, who was playing evenly with the team leader on the court. Yeye's talent is too strong. In such a short period of time, her strength has improved again. She is indeed a genius valued by Mr. Hokage. Hei Fong nodded, feeling very envious in his heart. Pity. It's impossible for him. I only hope that my future children can surpass him as a father in terms of talent. Anyway, let their family produce a genius or something. Don't expect to be as talented as Night God Ryosuke. About 1/3 of it is almost enough. Bang bang. On the court, Yagami Ryosuke's ninja knife slashed at Tenzang's Kazumi. The two hit it off. Immediately, Tianzong took a look at the kunai in his hand and found that several cracks had been cracked on the surface of the kunai, making it completely unusable. This kid is really strong. Tianzong twisted his wrist, feeling that his hand was a little sore from the fight just now. It is indeed a genius who has awakened the limit of physical blood inheritance. This physical fitness is really strong. Yue, you have not lost to any Jinin in Taijutsu, but ninja competition is not just about Taijutsu. Next, I will use Ninjutsu to fight with you. You have to pay attention. Tianzong already has a general understanding of the strength of Night God Ryosuke. The opponent is a ninja who has awakened the blood successor limit of physique, and his strength is basically based on a powerful physique. Therefore, as for other ninjutsu, Tianzong didn't think that Ryosuke, the night god, could be as good as Taijutsu. So the investigation of the strength of night god Ryosuke has been completed. Next is to make him realize that ninjas cannot fight by physical skills alone. Even if the talent in ninjutsu is not as good as Taijutsu, the importance of ninjutsu cannot be ignored. Captain Tianzong, just come here. Also, I'm not just good at physical skills. Yagami Ryosuke said with a faint smile. Confidence is a good thing, but don't underestimate any elite Jinin. As Tianzong said, he made seals with his hands after drinking. Earth style. Earth flow gun. Boom. Under the feet of night god Ryosuke, sharp rocks pierced the ground and attacked him. Don't use with style? Yagami Ryosuke thought to himself. At the same time, he dodged Tianzong's earth flow spear while rushing towards the opponent. Water style. Water wave hand. Didn't see Tenzo making any seal movements. He released a large amount of water from his hand and rushed towards night god Ryosuke like a sea wave. Yagami Ryosuke was swept away by the waves with a bang, and Tianzong also seized this opportunity and quickly formed seals with both hands. Wood style. Great woods technique. The expressions of the four people outside the field changed instantly. That's wood style. Black Fong opened his eyes wide in shock. I can't believe that one day I will see a ninja using wood style appear. To know in their Konoha, wood style is like a mythical existence. That was first Hokage Senju Hashirama's specialty blood succession boundary, a move of wood style which directly laid down the current pattern of the 5 hidden villages. Although in today's ninja school textbooks, it has always been written that 3rd Hokage is the strongest Hokage. But in fact, many older ninjas know it in their hearts. 3rd Hokage is very strong, but compared to 1st Hokage who created Konoha village, there is still a gap in strength. It turned out to be wood style. Yuzuki Shien also looked at the wood style displayed by Tianzong in surprise. She suddenly understood why Yagami Ryosuke insisted on fighting Tenzo. Is it because of wood style? Duh. How did Yagami Ryosuke know Tenzo's society wood style? This should be a secret in the village, right? Yuzuki Shien thought puzzledly. At this time, on the field, Tianzong, who used the Great Forest technique, also used the wood style to tie up the night god Ryosuke, who was washed by the water and flew out. Yeah, you are so naive, Tianzong said with a smile. Really? Captain Tianzong. The night god Ryosuke, who was bound by the branches, suddenly smiled. Tianzong immediately realized that he had been tricked. Really? In the next second, another night god Ryosuke appeared in the ground under his feet. Earth style. Heart beheading technique. Grasping Tenzo's legs with both hands, Yagami Ryosuke dragged him directly into the ground. There was only one head left, which was still exposed. Brush. The figure of night god Ryosuke appeared in front of Tenzo, and the night god Ryosuke, who was bound by the branches, turned into a piece of wood with a bang. It turned out that Ryosuke, the night god, had performed the body replacement technique long ago and deceived Tianzong by using doubles and transformations, making him mistakenly think that it was the real body of Ryosuke, the night god. Smart tactics, but Yue, you are still careless after all. Tianzong, who had only one head left on the ground, smiled and praised. Immediately, Yi Shunliang found that Tianzong Underground had turned into a wooden double. Is this a stand-in? At the same time, Tianzong's real body also appeared not far away. His hands quickly formed seals. Wood-style thorn killing technique. Boom, boom, boom. Huge wooden pillars surrounded Night God Ryosuke, trapping him in it, and at the same time a large amount of wood stretched out, quickly binding his body. Night God Ryosuke split a few pieces of wood with a ninja knife in his hand, but he couldn't stop all the wood and was finally tied up firmly. Can't move. Wood style. Tree bound forever. Tianzong didn't stop and directly cast another wood style number. This time, he wants to end this battle. While on the other side, I don't know when Ryosuke, the night god who has turned on Baiyin and Sharingan, also copied the wood style used by Tianzong through Sharingan. Certainly, copying is copying, but he still doesn't know wood style, and he can't use it even after copying. But it's okay, because Night God Ryosuke will soon have the same wood style blood follower limit. Next, second Tianzong's tree binding eternal burial came, and the huge tree crushed the Night God Ryosuke into the ground, as if to bury him in the ground forever. But just then, the squeezed Night God Ryosuke suddenly disappeared with a bang. It turned out to be Shadow Clone. Tenzo looked at the disappearing Night God Ryosuke in surprise. That's not right. It had already hit him before. If it was Shadow Clone, it should have disappeared long ago. Tianzong frowned, feeling something wrong in his heart. Could it be? In the next moment, Tianzong instantly seals 1.5. Illusion solution. After the things in front of him blurred for a while, he unraveled the illusion that was passively on Tianzong's body. Certainly, this is the result of Night God Ryosuke deliberately releasing water. Otherwise, with his level of illusion, even if Tianzong was drunk to death, it would be impossible to unlock his illusion. This was the case with Tianzong before. Not to mention Tianzong. After unraveling the illusion, Tianzong realized that he hadn't caught the Night God Ryosuke from the beginning to the end. His wood style, what he grabs is just a stone. No wonder. Tianzong glanced around vigilantly, looking for the location of Night God Ryosuke. At this time, swipe swipe, a series of bitterness came towards Tianzong's position. He dodges quickly. These kunai scattered around him in a disorderly manner. What's the situation? Are so many sufferings thrown away? Tenzo couldn't understand Night God Ryosuke's operation. And in the next second brush, a saber light came from behind in an instant. Too fast. It came too abruptly. As a result, Tianzong didn't react in a hurry and was directly cut a shallow wound on the back by Ryosuke's ninja sword. Puff! Blood splattered. Tianzong hurriedly dodged away and then touched his back in disbelief. This is... He suddenly looked at these sufferings on the ground. Flying Thunder God Technique. Chapter 87. Night God Ryosuke. The Great Buddha of Susanoo, destroying the 4 kingdoms by one person. First update. Did you see clearly just now? Hey, Fong foolishly asked the people next to him. Yaya seems to have appeared suddenly. Tengu scratched his scalp and said, it just appeared out of nowhere, didn't move, and then disappeared again. Shadow's voice was also a little more excited, not as flat as usual. It's that ninjutsu from Flying Thunder God Technique. 4th Hokage. There was a gleam in Uzuki Shiin's eyes. She didn't expect that Night God Ryosuke even learned the space-time ninjutsu that 4th Hokage is best at. This is too great. That's the legendary Yellow Flash. If he hadn't died in the Nine Tails incident, he would still be able to sit firmly in Hokage's position now. And, to be honest, it would be a good thing for the whole village to have such a young and energetic Hokage in power. Uzuki Shiin is not saying that Sarutobi Hiruzen, the 3rd Hokage, is not good. But it's all about getting older. No matter in terms of combat effectiveness or the way of dealing with some things, they are incomparable with young people. Back then, the 4th generation used the Flying Thunder God Technique to instantly kill 40 or 50 genin from the enemy, which shocked the 5 major countries in one fell swoop. So that the other 4 major ninja villages publicly announced that if they encountered Namake's Minato during the mission, they would not give up the mission. It counts as a failure. What is it called? It's called platooning. And it can't really be killed. In comparison, what about Sarutobi Hiruzen? The strongest Hokage in history and textbooks? Dr. Ninja? Ninja? Maybe Sarutobi Hiruzen was really good when he was young. But when he was old, those things he did, to be honest, many people really couldn't accept it in their hearts. But it was because of his own soft-spoken, and it was not good to sing against the high level. That's why no one has expressed such an idea. Everyone has memory. They will remember some of the things you have done before. Maybe these people won't say anything and do something right now. But once you lose power, you won't have a high and powerful position. By the time, they will naturally dig up old scores. 04 dig up all the things you have done in the past and say it again. Moreover, what they said once was not young and agreeing. Instead, accuse and insult. This is the way the world is. If Sarutobi Hiruzen hadn't ended up dying like a hero at the hands of Orochimaru, his end result would have been no better. Certainly, in that case, it's another story. Uzuki Shiin is still young. In her early 20s, she actually doesn't know much about many things in the past, such as the Hitaki incident. How old was she then? Only 4 years old. What can a 4-year-old girl know? Even the memory of that time has been completely blurred. On the other hand, when the Nine Tails incident happened, Uzuki Shiin was already 10 years old, and she already remembered things. Therefore, I was also deeply impressed by the Nine Tails incident and the 4th Hokage Namake's Minato at that time. Therefore, at this time, Uzuki Yugao was also quite surprised to see Yagami Ryosuke using the Flying Thunder God technique. Since Namake's Minato, no one seems to have learned this ninjutsu, right? Even for the Hokage guards during the reign of Namake's Minato, many people needed to work together to create a Flying Thunder God formation. To put it bluntly, it is similar to Cloud Shinobi's Tiansong technique. Can't compare to the effect Namake's Minato used. Field Tianzong, who recognized the Flying Thunder God technique, was also carefully watching his surroundings at this time, and at the same time cast Earth Style, intending to destroy the terrain. Earth Style, soil flow cutting. Tianzong slapped the ground with one hand, and the earth shook instantly, and cracks were torn open, swallowing those kunai nailed to the ground. Brush. At this time, in the distance, another kunai came flying. Tianzong discovered this attack at the first time and immediately separated 2 wood clones from the seal, one in front and one behind to protect himself, blocking those flying kunai, shuriken, and the like. At the same time, Ryosuke, the night god who was hiding in the dark, also looked at Tianzong, who had destroyed the terrain and was protected by wood clone in the front and back. The corners of his mouth were slightly raised, showing a smile. Think this is all right. Night god Ryosuke chuckled, and then disappeared in the same place. Boom! A fist instantly hit a wood clone in Tianzong. The wood clone was smashed to pieces on the spot, and turned into sawdust flying all over the sky. At the same time, another wood clone was also attacked around the same time. The same is the fist. Killed Tenzo's wood clone with one punch. What? Tenzo looked in shock at Ryosuke, who suddenly appeared. He has obviously destroyed the surrounding Flying Thunder God kunai. But why did Night God Ryosuke appear near him in an instant? What exactly is going on? Tianzong tried to break his head, but couldn't find the reason. However, Night God Ryosuke didn't give him time to think clearly about this issue at all. So the Flying Thunder God technique flashed and disappeared again and again. Rao Tianzong's wood style has already used it very well, and his physical skills are not bad, but facing Ryosuke's elusive attack method like Night God Ryosuke, he was still defeated in minutes. Brush. The ninja knife stopped in front of Tianzong's forehead. The sharpness of the blade even cut off several strands of his hair. Tianzong froze in place. Apparently, he didn't expect to lose to Night God Ryosuke. Although the other party is a genius ninja who has awakened the blood succession limit, he is just a 12-year-old child after all. For a while, Tianzong had a hard time accepting the fact that he had lost to a child. After a few seconds, he smiled wryly and said, "You won, Brush." Night God Ryosuke sheathed his sword. "Captain Tianzong, I was lucky enough to win a match because you were not familiar with my Flying Thunder God technique. If I do it again, I'm afraid I won't be able to win against you," Night God Ryosuke said modestly. Tianzong also shook his head when he heard the words. Even if you do it again, this result may be difficult to change. The Flying Thunder God technique is too unsolvable, unless it is like Raikage, who has extremely fast speed and can keep up with your teleportation otherwise. A ninja who knows the Flying Thunder God technique is almost invincible. Tianzong knew very well that even if he did it again, he would not be able to defeat the Night God Ryosuke, who had learned the Flying Thunder God technique. No way. Space-time ninjutsu is so incomprehensible. Unless your speed is really extremely fast, like Zhang Jin's third Raikage, then you can play Flying Thunder God technique without fear. But you will also play very hard. After all, one has to keep up the spirit of 120,000 points at all times and be careful of the attack from the opposite side. I am afraid that such a state will not last long before exhaustion. However, the ninjas of the Flying Thunder God technique only need to look at each other from a distance, and relying on that kind of psychological pressure alone is enough to occupy the upper hand. So, even knowing that Ryosuke can Flying Thunder God technique, even if Tianzong went to study how to deal with Ryosuke's Flying Thunder God technique. But when it's time to do it, the result won't be much better than it is now. By the way, I obviously destroyed your Flying Thunder God Kunai. How did you teleport here? Regarding this issue, Tianzong still hasn't figured it out yet. Obviously, these Flying Thunder God Kunai on the ground have been destroyed by him with Earth Style, and no other Flying Thunder God Kunai flew over. How on earth did Yagami Ryosuke appear near him? Regarding this, Captain Tianzong, you can look at your feet. Yagami Ryosuke said. Underfoot? Tianzong looked down at the ground under his feet, suddenly showing an expression of enlightenment. When did you do it? He looked at the special symbols left on some places on the ground. This symbol looks like a crescent moon because it is quite small and it is easy to miss if you don't look carefully. In the battle just now, Tianzong's attention has been on those Flying Thunder God Kunai, and beware of the Night God Ryosuke, who may appear at any time. I didn't notice the ground beside my feet at all. There is such a symbol. It was the time when you and Captain Tianzong fought against each other before. Night God Ryosuke replied. It was that time, Tianzong suddenly said. But were you already making preparations at that time? Yagami Ryosuke shook his head and said, No, I'm actually just being prepared. In fact, if it wasn't for the fact that Night God Ryosuke's research on the Flying Thunder God technique was not thorough enough, and it would take a certain amount of time to imprint the Flying Thunder God, he could have left the Flying Snow God imprint on Tianzong. It's like the Mark Namikaze's Minato left on Obito. Unless someone who has learned the Flying Thunder God technique erases this kind of imprint, otherwise you can only dig out that piece of meat. Otherwise, it cannot be removed at all. And many times you won't even realize you've been marked with the Flying Thunder God. I didn't know how I died until I died. Fortunately, the Flying Thunder God technique is extremely demanding and requires the talent of time and space ninjutsu. Otherwise, if a few more people learn this ninjutsu, wouldn't Konoha be invincible? After chatting with Tianzong for a few more words, Tianzong, who was very emotional in his heart, also said goodbye and left. The Night God Ryosuke was also warmly welcomed by his teammates. Then I asked him in a hurry when he learned the Flying Thunder God technique, and how difficult it was to learn the Flying Thunder God technique. Night God Ryosuke answered a few questions for them, and after satisfying their curiosity, he found an excuse and left the training ground. Somewhere in training ground number 1, Yagami Ryosuke probed the surroundings with the perception technique and then observed with the white eyes. After confirming that no one was there, he took out a drop of Tianzong's blood from the biopheromone warehouse. System transform. Coincidentally, he hasn't used up the number of transformations today, and Yishan Ryosuke can't wait to see what kind of talent entries Tianzong can transform. But don't let him down. The blood on the hands disappeared. Next second ding. Converted successfully. Congratulations to host for getting the talent entry. Konoha Architect Blue. The blue talent entry is not unexpected. Night God Ryosuke was not surprised. After all, Tianzong's strength is only at the level of Elite Chunin. The talent entry transferred from 180 is blue, which is normal. Chunin level, whether it is special Chunin or Elite Chunin, is a blue entry. with very few exceptions. Basically, there will be no change. It is mainly the attribute of the entry, right? Is there wood style? If wood style is available, Knight God Ryosuke wouldn't mind throwing 1,000 experience points into it to raise it to purple. So, Knight God Ryosuke has both Susanoo and wood style. You can realize the famous scene of Susanoo Buddha directly by yourself. At that time, wouldn't one person destroy the four kingdoms? No. In fact, it is not a problem to destroy the 5 countries. Look at the specific attributes. Knight God Ryosuke immediately opened the character panel to check the attribute content of this entry. Konoha Architect, blue. You are Konoha's master builder. Without you, Konoha's real estate will collapse completely, and countless households rely on you to live in a warm house. So people kindly call you Konoha Architect. Wood style power, plus 30%. The beauty of the house, built plus 30%. Comes with wood style, Yamato version. Really, when Ryosuke saw the wood style attached at the end, he couldn't help but his eyes lit up. The attribute of wood style power bonus appeared earlier, and Knight God Ryosuke guessed that the follow-up must have the ability of wood style. As expected, this guy Tianzong lived up to his expectations. Sure enough, a copy of wood style was sent to him. Thanks to Tianzong Loud Eye for the wood style, Knight God Ryosuke looked at the talent entry in front of him and couldn't help laughing. Luckily, no one is around. Otherwise, maybe there's something wrong with Knight God Ryosuke. After a while, Knight God Ryosuke directly invested 1,000 experience points, upgraded the Konoha Architect talent entry from blue to purple. The title of the entry has also changed. Konoha Architect's successor of wood style, the attribute of the talent entry, has also changed. Wood style successor. Purple, you are the successor of wood style. Your wood style ability is much better than a certain Konoha Architect, but you still can't compare with the founder Senju Hashirama on the same page. Wood style power plus 350%. Wood style development efficiency plus 400%. Attached. Wood style, Senju Hashirama, weakened version. Chapter 88. Wood style successor. Clap your hands and shout technique. Second update after the upgrade. The talent entry has obviously changed greatly compared to before the upgrade. First one, the substitute effect of wood style's power has changed from the previous poor 30% to the current 350%, directly increased by more than 10 times. And the previously useless aesthetics of the house are also gone. Instead, it is an attribute of wood style development efficiency. The main function of this attribute is to improve the efficiency of developing different types of wood style and using ninjutsu. Where do you think Senju Hashirama's wood style ninjutsu came from? They are all developed by themselves. After all, as the first ninja with wood style, there is no previous experience to learn from, so he can only develop it himself. From this point, it can be seen that both Senju Hashirama and Senju Tobarama are creative geniuses who are particularly good at developing ninjutsu, a forbidden technique that created a whole bunch. A wood-style ninjutsu who created a whole lot. And with this attribute of improving development efficiency, if Yagami Ryosuke wants to develop wood-style ninjutsu in the future, the effect will become twice the result with half the effort. Maybe in the future, we can create a wood style that is stronger than the top Buddha and finally comes with the wood style ability. Also from the original pure Yamato version of wood style, becomes a weakened version of the current Senju Hashirama. Don't underestimate this change. Yamato's version of wood style is almost a weakened version of Senju Hashirama's weakened version, and the wood style that Knight God Ryosuke now has is just a weakened version. It can be said that the effect is several times stronger than that of Yamato. However, wood style power bonus. Doesn't wood style enjoy the bonus of the entry ninjutsu power? Knight God Ryosuke looked at the first attribute on the entry and suddenly thought of a certain possibility. Then, he immediately equipped this wood style successor entry. Then he made madras with both hands and performed the wood style ninjutsu copied from Tianzong. Wood style. Great woods technique. Crash. In an instant, Yishan Ryosuke's right hand seemed to turn into countless branches, extending quickly and wrapped around a large rock 20 or 30 meters away. Crack, bang! The big stones were directly squeezed into gravel by the branches and scattered all over the ground. The effect is indeed much stronger than the Great Forest technique that Tianzong used before. Night God Ryosuke looked at the effect and thought. But after excluding the improvement of wood style itself and the influence of Night God Ryosuke's primary sage body, it feels like it is 3 or 4 times stronger than Tianzong's Great Forest technique. It didn't reach the level of 10 times. So, for the attribute of ninjutsu power, it is true that wood style doesn't take effect. Yagami Ryosuke frowned. Then, he directly threw this question to the system, asking him what is the situation. The so-called ninjutsu does not include the beds developed by blood successors such as limit, eliminate, and snare. The system quickly gave an answer. Is it like this? Night God Ryosuke understands. That is to say, it is only common ninjutsu that increases the power of ninjutsu. Those who are related to Shueiji are not included. Thinking about it carefully, it seems to be right. For example, some techniques created by the Uchiha family based on Sharingan, similar to Izanagi and Izanami, all are blood succession ninjutsu developed on the basis of Sharingan. Even including the Pupil technique born by Mangeki, it is also a kind of blood succession ninjutsu. It's just that the former needs to be developed by itself. The latter can be learned automatically as long as Mangeki is opened. But the entry attribute of ninjutsu power will obviously not improve Mangeki's Pupil technique. Nature, it will not improve the effect of those blood-following ninjutsu. Although it feels a bit of a loss, it's reasonable to think about it. Night God Ryosuke reluctantly accepted this setting, although in this way, the power of wood style has been reduced a lot. But at least there is a separate entry for wood style power bonuses. 350% is not a lot. Not to mention, this is just a purple entry. If you upgrade to gold, this attribute will skyrocket. And even if it doesn't break through, so what? As long as there is this 350% bonus attribute, Night God Ryosuke's wood style will always be the strongest one. Even the resurrection of Senju Hashirama will not change all this. Certainly, the premise is that Night God Ryosuke must first develop his own sage body to an advanced level. At least in this respect, he needs to be on par with Senju Hashirama. Otherwise, there is no comparison. The power of my current wood style should only be 2 or 3 times worse than Senju Hashirama's wood style, and the gap is not too big. Yamato's wood style differs from Senju Hashirama's wood style by thousands of times. And Ryosuke himself, the weakened version of Senju Hashirama's wood style, is almost 10 times behind Senju Hashirama's original version. But after adding 350% wood style power bonus, the rest is only 4 or 5 times the size. Then counting Ryosuke's junior sage body, the gap is further narrowed to about 2 or 3 times. Almost Night God Ryosuke's sage body raised to intermediate. This gap can be bridged. That is to say, afterwards, any improvement of Night God Ryosuke is based on the foundation of Senju Hashirama, the founder of wood style. Certainly, in the use of wood style, Yagami Ryosuke is much worse than Senju Hashirama. For example, he knows only a few wood style ninjutsu. They were all copied from Tianzong. By the way, do I actually not need seals? Night God Ryosuke suddenly thought. Then he tried it. With a clap of both hands, the chakra in the body is instantly released. Boom! Next second, an identical Night God Ryosuke appears to his left. Night God Ryosuke looked at his wood clone. Then he nodded with satisfaction. Sure enough, my wood style ability is enough to be able to use it smoothly without seals. But for other ninjutsu, it seems that I still need to practice to save the process of seals. The so-called not seal is actually a way for the situation to assist in performing ninjutsu. A ninja who is proficient in a ninjutsu can actually further reduce the number of seals. For example, the normal version of the water dragon bomb technique requires 44 seals, even if you are a genius with 6 seals per second. 44 seals also need more than 7 seconds. These more than 7 seconds are enough for the enemy to kill you several times. It can be said that whoever uses this ninjutsu is shabby. However, Senju Tobarama's water dragon bomb technique only needs to make 4 seals. This is because Senju Tobarama's research on the water dragon bomb technique has been extremely thorough, so the number of seals can be reduced from 44 to 4. And Senju Hashirama, as the owner of the advanced sage body, coupled with his in-depth study of wood style, enabling him to further master the ability to perform ninjutsu without the need for seals. To put it bluntly, it is something that a ninja can only do when he controls his own chakra and understands ninjutsu to an extremely incredible level. And now, Night God Ryosuke found himself seeming to touch this threshold. Although what he can release now without seals is just with style. But as long as you practice hard, I believe that he will use other ninjutsu in the future, and he will no longer need complicated not seals to use it. Just right, Night God Ryosuke has always been dissatisfied with his seal speed. 5 seals per second looks pretty good. But Night God Ryosuke felt that it was still too slow. 1 second is enough for him to rush hundreds of meters away and kill several ninjas on the opposite side. At that time, wouldn't it be good for him to just watch Ninja Knife charge forward? Why use ninjutsu? If it weren't for the Night God Ryosuke's ninja has a 10 times the power bonus. To be honest, he didn't even bother to learn the ninjutsu that required seals. 1 Rasengan is enough for him to pull off a whole bunch of tricks. Recently, Night God Ryosuke also asked Shadow Clone to study the new form of Rasengan. He has some ideas about the new form of Rasengan in his mind, but it is still only in the idea stage. As for whether it can be developed, Yagami Ryosuke doesn't worry about that. The difference is just how long it takes to develop. For example, the spiral wheel you used by the Uzumaki noodles in the limited Tsukimi world. This technique is extremely powerful. Extended form, big spiral wheel. It even destroyed the entire Konoha with 1 blow. In terms of destructive power, it does not lose to Pain's Chao, Shenluo Tianjong. Moreover, the large spiral wheel is small in size, more maneuverable, and more convenient to use. The overall evaluation should be higher than Kei Shenluo Tianjong. However, Yishin Ryosuke doesn't know how this spiral wheel was developed. So we can only let the shadow clones go to trial and error again and again. See if you can happen to find the right direction of development for this spiral wheel. And the Rasengan form that Night God Ryosuke ultimately wants to achieve. It is a Rasengan in the form of a blood-successful snare that is infused with 7 chakra attributes. Night God Ryosuke has even thought of its name in advance. When the time comes, we will call it 6 Paths Final Rasengan. However, it is not easy to research this stuff. Therefore, the task that Night God Ryosuke gave to the Shadow Clones is to first study the Rasengan that adds 2 or more chakra nature transformations. Then increase step by step, finally adding Chakra's nature transformation to form this final form. Exactly. Now the Flying Thunder God technique has also been learned. Then more Shadow Clone can be freed up to study the follow-up development of Rasengan. But now Night God Ryosuke seems to have one more task. That is to develop wood style. Things are getting more and more. Luckily, I have Shadow Clone to help. Night God Ryosuke is very grateful to Senju Tobarama for developing the ninjutsu of multiple Shadow Clone technique. If not for it, Yagami, how could Ryosuke be busy with so many things by himself? Hokage office. Tengu, kneeling on one knee, is reporting the latest information about Night God Ryosuke to Sarutobi Hiruzen. Wait until Tengu finishes speaking. Sarutobi Hiruzen was also frowning and smoking a cigarette and didn't say anything for a while. Patriarch, is this not—
No more novels? Take part in the voting. The most requested novels and those with the most likes will be chosen for publication on euroaudiobooks.com. There, I can upload as much as I want without the risk of receiving a strike. Our 18 novels and other content that exceed what is morally acceptable are only published on Patreon or the free novels page. Remember, the site is funded by donations on Ko-fi and Patreon memberships.